interested in playing Carcassonne or any number of the fantastic games available through the Board Game Arena library, please feel free to head to their website. It's free to join, although if you pay a small fee at Board Game Arena, you can pay a small premium fee of £3. I mean, is it American dollars or UK dollars?
I think it's £3.90, isn't it? Or
£3.90, something like that.
that.
You can pay a small premium thing. I think you get more access to more games or access to better tournaments. I don't know. Either way, please help support our friends over at Board Game Arena. If you're interested in Mind Sports Olympiad, if you're interested in competing in any number of the fantastic tournaments that we have remaining in our schedule throughout the month of August, we have another week left of really high-level competition. If you've got some pride in your chest, if you want to fight it out with some of the best, if you want to see how you fare against the best in the world, join up, have a look at our schedule, see what games tickle your pickle, and hopefully we'll get to see you on the game tables. Steve, you've got the tournament standings up there. What do you see?
I'm just looking to see if there's another game we can join in, but at the moment you can see that some players there are 7 players who are undefeated, or 8 players who are undefeated, because he's still waiting for this gentleman at you home. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people who've won all 4. Another person who's won 3 and drawn 1. The way that the tiebreaks work, that draw's actually bad. It's more like a loss than a win. If you get another draw, it converts it into a win, but by itself, it's effectively like a loss, because you need 6 points to make it to the knockout stages.
6 points or more.
6 points or more, apologies. Yeah, there will be someone on 7 points. So you get 1 point for a win and half a point for a draw. So that draw is not looking great for you, Muller. But you've also got this gentleman here, you home, is playing Hognedge. So maybe we'll have a look at that match if we can get that up, unless they've finished it since I've been talking. No, they're playing different people. So we'll have a look at one of these games and see how many. So they've got 20 tiles left. So we're going to tune into Hognedge's match. So where's Hognedge? Hognedge is here. Hognedge is playing poorly, so they're both undefeated still. So we're probably going to have about 8 or 9 people undefeated with 3 matches of the Swiss left to play. But we're going to tune in to this match. Both of these players have won all 3 matches so far, and they're going into it.
Christmas.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas, Steve. Merry Christmas, friends. The green and the red, looking very festive today. Diving straight into it, we see Hognedge seems to have an advantage, 19 points ahead on the board, but that doesn't tell the whole story. What else do you see here, Steve?
There's a bit of a fight for farms already. I believe there is one large farm. You can see from this farmer here, he wraps all the way around this bit, and it also goes all the way down the bottom, joins up with 2 green farmers and a red farm and 2 red farmers. So red is also winning the farm, and the farm's currently worth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 8, because you're probably going to be able to connect to this one as well. So the farm's currently worth about 24 points in favour of red. So you can see, I would suggest not only is red winning as points scored, I think red's winning on current endgame points as well.
Especially in the 2-player variant, of which the Carcassonne UK Championships is this tournament that we're playing is a 2-player variant. You will see that the fight for farmers is fierce. In fact, many people at the competitive levels really super value the farmers, and that's a theme that I think we're going to see in the remaining Swiss rounds as well as the finals as we go through, because that 20-point swing is massive, as we saw in our last match. So at the moment, Hognedge, I hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly. What nation is that from, Steve?
It looks like Norway.
Norway,
Norway.
The home of chess grandmaster and widely considered to be the best player of all time, Mr. Magnus Carlsen. Shout out to you, Magnus, if you're out there watching. Of course, why wouldn't you be? Because Carcassonne is very much like chess. Anyway, we've got 4 farmers for red. 4 farmers for red contesting this large, massive farm. We've got 3 farmers for green. However, Paulie happens to have one advantage that red doesn't have, which is the connection of those abbeys, which is going to be roughly 18 points if they manage to score both. They're both very close. 18 points there. Do you think that might be enough to offset the 20-something points and growing that is potentially on offer there from the farms?
It would be if that was all it is, but there's also this, Hognedge has got this person on the road, and if you can see how long this road is, that offsets one of the abbeys by itself.
Yes.
So I don't think so. And you can see that Hognedge has just placed another farmer. There's 15 tiles left, and Hognedge has got 4 farmers down. That's how strong they value the farmers.
we're certainly in the end game, and I would probably say at this point that there is no way for Paulie, particularly with only one meeple remaining, there's no way for Paulie to fight for the farmers. And it looks like Hognedge with every new move is cementing their victory. Having said that, 18 points. The 18 points of the differential, as Paulie has managed to just finish their abbey in the center of the map. The issue here for both Hognedge and Paulie is that the game is ending soon, and all of these meeples that are stranded, those two meeples that Paulie had, they're not going to come back. So the meeple economy, the fact that there are two in hand, you got to find a way to make up these points quickly, and it's too late to try to get massive castles. It seems just a little bit too late for Paulie here. What do you think, Steve? Am I being a little bit too harsh?
No, I think you're right. I think the farmland is now 4-2, so realistically, Paulie, even with two meeples down and connecting them up, is just not going to get it. So I think they've just if they were still trying to compete the farmland, I think they'd be looking with this particular move to try and get their two meeples in. They haven't even got enough meeples in hand to take the farmland. The farmland's a flat 27 points currently, might go even higher. Hognedge has also just joined up the city to Paulie had a larger city. Yeah, so I think this is Hognedge's game to lose. To be honest, I can't see them doing it. So with 11 tiles left, it's just to see how much they win by. I think.
Both players have been fairly aggressive with their meeple placements, and we can see that they're currently in what I like to call the meeple poverty cycle, where they only have one meeple in hand or two meeples in hand, and they're consistently trying to place meeples for win now moves. The game is too late to invest in your future, to place more farmers, to try to get more castles. You kind of got what you paid for, really. In the context of the wider tournament, this match actually has a great deal of impact, and one of the things in these larger format tournaments, of which I would certainly describe this as, so in 7 rounds, it's with the format the way it is, that you only progress through to the playoffs with a record of 6-1 or better. Every match is pretty much win and in. Every match matters. You only have one loss to give. So Paulie, while by no means is out of the tournament entirely, it's going to be an uphill climb from here, because Paulie needs to win out, meaning this is the end of round 4. They have to win their next 3 matches in order to progress through.
Yeah, which isn't an easy thing to do, because you're playing against some very good players at the top of this field. On the worldwide, I believe Hognedge is ranked with that ranking about in the 80th player. Or thereabouts. Yeah, Board Game Arena has this ranking system, and there are thousands and thousands of players who do it. And on their site, basically anything above 400 says you really know what you're doing. And so if you're significantly above that, it says you're one of the best players on the site.
One of the great things about our friends over at Board Game Arena is the capacity to follow a player and to review their games. You can actually click on, if you're interested in following, if getting better at Carcassonne is something you'd like to do, there's nothing stopping you from looking at the Carcassonne World Rankings, checking out our good friends over at Hognedge, watching the matches that they've last played and replaying it in your own browser, seeing what decisions they've had to make, and figuring out exactly how do they think through their game. If that's too nerdy for you, then that's completely fine. You don't have to do that kind of thing. But certainly, I promise you that people like Varshad, people like people at the top of the Pentamind World Championships, they're certainly doing this. And they have done so because Carcassonne is a perennial favorite here at the Mind Sports Olympiad. One of the simplest and most accessible games, but also, as we're discovering through this tournament, one of the hardest, one of the deepest abstract games. So we have Paulie actually is on -4 seconds here. So I believe that they've got a 20-second differential to make each of their moves now. And if they don't, then they lose. But I don't think that's going to have any real effect on the board, because we have a 20-point differential between Hognedge and Paulie.
To lose, your opponent's actually got to say accept
claim
resignation,
victory?
or so claim victory or something like that. So Hognedge with a lead, I think they know they've won. I don't think they're going to claim victory based on time here.
How many and of course that raises questions about the issue of sportsmanship and gamesmanship, and we've been quite blessed to witness without exception a very high level of competitive gamesmanship and sportsmanship as we've played through this tournament. So can I ask, Steve, you've got the updated the overlay there. How many moves do we have left before the end of the game?
We have 4 moves left, so they get apologies. There are 4 tiles left, so I think that's 6 moves, because I think they each have they each have a tile in hand, and then there are 4 tiles left in the deck. So I think the number of tiles I can see is how many are left to be drawn. So the reason they do it that way is because you'll be looking at a tile in hand, and it'll say 3 tiles left in the deck, which means you can work out what those 3 tiles are with the context of the one you can see, less the one your opponent's got as well.
Oh, massive! That's not that Hognage needed it, but that tile piece that he managed to, the 4-corner castle piece, managed to get score a great deal of points. Even though it's only a half-pointed score, it's only 1 point per castle tile, 1 point per shield. Those points are certainly going to matter.
That was 9 points then, because there's 3 shields as well. Yeah.
It's all over bar the shouting, as my year 5 teacher, Mr. Blue, used to say. And here we go.
They're scoring now, yeah. So you can see the scores being added up. They'll take all the non-farmers off first. I've been told by some people commenting, thank you very much, Florian. Glad to see you watching again. Per Soli, the board world, your 2-player Carcassonne is your favourite game. The tiles, yeah, I mean, I think if I hadn't played all these expansions, I would be less confused. They are quite easy. There's not that many different ones. He says there's 19 different types, and then you just have to kind of remember how many of each type there are. And he says the Board Game World Championships is arranged each year in the USA. That is correct. This is the UK Championships of Carcassonne, the 2-player one, which I believe is usually held at the Board Game Expo, which was unable to run this year. And I think this weekend is the kind of the Board Game Expo online thing this year. So they've sent a few players our way. That's why we've got way more players than we normally get for the MSO one. We've got 117 players here. But yeah, absolutely right. There is a Board Game Championships USA that, if you were watching yesterday, Lumen Sperling goes to and does quite well at, I believe.
Lumen Sperling, he should do quite well because he's one of the smartest men in the whole world. So we just saw congratulations there to Hognage, winning by a differential of 50 points, which is generally quite rare at this level of competition. Generally, you won't see a blowout quite that high. But of course, it's not just Carcassonne is not simply just skill. There is definitely luck involved in terms of when you draw the tiles that you need and when you don't draw the tiles that you require in order to go with the game plan that you've enacted. Of course, I'm going to bring us back to a quote by a man that I very strongly admire, a Hall of Famer in a game called Magic the Gathering, a longtime player and commentator by the name of Luis Scott Vargas, who says that that skill is the ability to maximize the effects, maximize the windfall of good luck when it occurs, and the ability to reduce the effects of bad luck when that occurs as well, or something along those lines, right? I'm probably misquoting him horribly, but that idea is certainly alive and well here in Carcassonne, and we'll see actually whether or not Hognage's abilities will manage to continue through the remaining 3 rounds of this tournament.
So there are 8 people who've won all 4, and then another person who hasn't lost yet, Hugh Muller, which is effectively, and what I'm going to do is categorise Hugh Muller in the 3s and 1s, basically, because if they lose another one, they're out, and that's exactly the same situation as all the 3s and 1s will find themselves. So we've got 8 people who've gone 4-0, which means with 3 more rounds left, there will be one person who's undefeated, and they will be our seed as we go into the knockouts. The way the knockouts will work, it will go straight to a quarter-final with expected 7 or 8 players. If there are 7 players, the person who is seeded will get a bye into the semi-finals. I believe that's how it's going to work. So we'll see what happens, how things go. But it looks like we're going to get about, like I say, 7 or 8 players, and we're going to stick with you through all of those matches as they unfold.
So as we go through the tournament rankings here, so if there are 3 rounds remaining and there are 8 undefeated players, it's almost like those top 8 players will be playing a mini tournament within themselves. And within that, you're going to get one player who goes 0-3. So one player who goes 3-0, so 3 wins and no losses. One player who goes 0-3. You get 3 players who go 2-1 and 3 players who go 1-2. So there are going to be 4 players within, if they keep playing amongst themselves, although that's not clear, that's not purely what's going to happen, because some people from that 8 undefeated pod will certainly be playing down, but as many as 4 of those players will end up knocked out, and we're going to see the ascension of players from a 3-1 group upwards into that top echelon.
Yeah, if you look down, there's quite a lot of 3-1 players. So some of these 3-1 players, you expect 1 in 8 of these. So 1 in every 8 of these, you'd expect to win 3 games in a row, just based on averages. So there's about somewhere between 20. So you'd expect 2 or 3 of these players to join, whichever of these players can avoid losing to make our final 8.
So having a quick look at the tournament standings, I don't recognize anyone in the top 10 players who is currently in the hunt for the Pentamind World Championship, and that's actually That's actually quite telling, with the exception of people like, is that Noah Concepcion
Yeah, no
over there?
conception. One of the Spanish juniors from the Canary Islands. I believe she is the
Extraordinary.
current leading female player, and she's third on the junior list. So she's up there on the list somewhere. I don't know exactly where. We've also got Muzzacello. Muzzacello won the event we were commentating on yesterday, the King Domino event. They did pretty well.
A very strong showing in King Domino.
Yeah, and they
And for
came
those of you,
fifth
big
in.
shout out to our friends over at King Domino. Sorry, off you go, Steve.
No,
I
no,
keep
no, it's fine.
interrupting you.
I played it in Jaipur yesterday. They came fifth in Jaipur, so they're a very good games player. As we're going into the tournament on the site on Board Game Arena, Muzzacello was ranked the top of all the players entering, so they're definitely up there with a ranking of somewhere in the region of the 700s, which you can see is a pretty huge ranking, to be honest. So what?
Playing
Yeah.
Muzzello, of course, playing for his home country of Lithuania, a very proud Lithuanian, and that's actually something that has really delighted me over the breadth of this Mind Sports Olympiad. Actually, the UK Games Expo as well as the Board Game Arena. The fact that the tournament that we're hosting today, it's a meeting of minds across the world. Just because it's the UK Championships for Carcassonne doesn't mean that high level gamers like Muzzello, all from all over the world, are excluded from it. In fact, it's a draw. People want to compete with the highest level board gamers, the highest level thinkers around the world. And if that is you as well, please join in the action either by Board Game Arena or check out our website msoworld.com to sign up for free to any one of the remaining tournaments throughout the next week of August, which is quite timely because the whole world is shut down because of coronavirus. But there's no excuse. Boot up the laptop, fire up the internet connection, come and join Steve and I, and we'll slag off your play happily in front of the millions of people out there in the internet lands.
All right, I'm just checking. I think the next match has been drawn, so we're going to have a look down and see if we can pick a match to join. So the next match is here. Would you like to join Noah's match?
Yeah, let's watch
like
Noah Concepcion.
Yeah. So
for those of you, no, off you go, Steve. Sorry.
Yeah, no, yeah. So basically, because the people we're not watching one of the undefeated players, because basically anyone who's only lost one to this point could still make the knockout. So we're just going to be focusing on those. I know there are some high-ranked players lower down, like Andres Kusk, but now Andres has lost two. So once you've lost two, you can't make the knockout, sadly. So unlucky, Andres. I think Ankush is also in the same boat. I think he's also lost two, so I think he's actually dropped from the tournament. And I think Maciek, the second place player in the standing, I think they also dropped. Either they didn't attend or they dropped after one round or something right early on. Indeed. So we're going to go to this game, and we're going to join Noah playing Mars 15. Now you can look at Mars 15's ranking of 685.
Quite high.
That
Super
is
high.
pretty high.
For those of you out there who might feel a little bit weird about how come all of these top ranked players you're mentioning have dropped from the tournament, that's simply something that is a consequence of running the Mind Sports Olympiad the way that we are. Because players are looking for a podium finish and pretty much nothing else. As soon as that no longer becomes possible, they'll simply drop out of the tournament they're in and hop into another tournament to fight it out there to try to maximize their chances. Whether you like that or you hate it, it's simply part of the way that the Mind Sports Olympiad incentivizes top competitors to fight it through, which can sometimes have some really interesting effects later on in the season or earlier on in the season. Generally, you'll see this happen quite a lot. But straight into the action today, we've got another Christmas themed game. So out there, if you're looking forward to December, you blink and you'll miss it. December will be right upon us. Noah Concepcion playing the green pieces and Mars playing the red pieces. Who do you think has the lead so far, or is it too early to say so? Steve, what do you see?
Well, in terms of points on board, I think Green's got the lead. I think Green's got to avoid. I think what Green would be looking to do is to play a city piece here, because I think they've got to avoid a road coming round and making this city hard to finish. I generally don't like putting meeples on roads that are open-ended. So both players have got meeples on roads that have one end done, which means they're both one tile away from getting their meeple back, which is quite important. You'll see as you go on, as you see in the games we've watched so far, not having meeples in hand can lose you scoring opportunities. So in this particular case, I don't mind either them having a robber on the road because it's got one end closed off. In the game we watched earlier, where Andres sadly lost in the end, his opponent had a robber on the road right from the very first turn or second turn, and that road went on and on and on and didn't end for quite a while. So that meeple was out of play for a long time. Whereas in this case, I'm fine with both of them having one robber, but generally I wouldn't have more than one robber on the board at any one time.
Two interesting decision points. Number one, the fact that Noah Concepcion was thinking so long before they placed that end piece. I agree with her orientation because she's certainly going to try to claim this one castle, and you'll see that that both players will at the start. Oh, very interesting indeed. Just as I say that, Mars immediately wants to steal Noah Concepcion's castle rather than starting their own. And we'll try to use the gender neutral pronoun they because we don't know Mars's gender, and it's bad to assume for now. But really, so the interesting point of strategy is that we are this far into the tiles, right? Both players have placed what three and a half tiles, 4 tiles, and no one has placed a farmer just yet. And you might be wondering why, Chris. You were just talking about how farmers are super important for these higher level gamers, and the answer is these roads. You don't know just yet where the context of those castles will be, and because of that, it is still possible for you to place your castles and your roads in such a way to wall off your friends' farmers. And we're certainly seeing that. Oh, we got to fight right now. Noah's like, let's go. Let's fight. Let's join up that castle. And well, it's actually it's a difficult value
and
proposition.
Another one. Wow, they're going for it. Look at
They're
this.
fighting for it. Okay, guys, here's my prediction. I think that we're going to end up with this meeple fight that ends up making the score really, really low. Right now, towards the right-hand side and the north-hand side of the board, Noah and Noah alone is incentivized to connect that castle through. Towards the bottom right-hand corner, Mars and Mars alone is incentivized to close that together. Noah at this point is actually, both players could call it off. Both players could go, you know what, I'm not going to fight for these castles anymore. I'm going to start something else. And look, I'll have wasted my 2 meeples as long as you waste your 2 meeples, and we'll call it a draw. The discussion is, will this be like Jerusalem? This be like the Gaza Strip? Will tensions continue to rise, or will they choose peace and continue to build elsewhere? It's a whole bunch. It's a lot about the temperaments of the players and whether they see the value proposition of extra points. But it's got a really interesting repercussion for the continuing farm game.
I actually think you're not going to place a farm until there's a city that looks like it's going to complete. I don't know which side of if you placed a road, for example, and you wanted to place a farm, I don't know which side of the road you'd go on this current board state. I also think the city as well. I think Noah's got a slight edge on the city because there is a piece that goes here. Maybe not anymore. There is a piece that goes. There is a piece that goes here that will split them off. It's kind of like 2 semicircles. Will go in this gap here. And so, in theory, there is a piece that Noah can draw that will cut this red meeple out of the big city, but not the converse. I don't think there's a piece that red can draw that cuts one of these 2 green ones out. Having said that,
yeah. Sorry, Steve. I keep interrupting you.
Having said that, yeah, look what Mars has just done.
Mars by name, Mars by nature, the angry god of war with his red meeples is choosing to really attack Noah here. Super interesting play from a super highly ranked Carcassonne player over in Board Game Arena. If Mars can manage to completely dominate this castle, if they can connect everything together, then not only do they steal Noah's meeples, but all of the time spent that Noah has had in trying to place those tiles is also going to be lost. Currently, that sunk cost is 2 meeples and 3 tiles. That's actually massive. That's really big. So, but on the same side, if Noah can, if Mars does not connect all these through and Noah goes somewhere else and gets points elsewhere, then they can waste. They can go, cool. I've wasted 2 meeples. You've wasted 3 meeples and a whole bunch of time. I'm going to go somewhere else and make my points.
I think there's some tiles. So basically, Noah's not going to add to this, apart from if they get a tile here that cuts this red meeple out, which is this specific tile. So basically, if she gets a repeat of this tile, she can put it here and cut the red meeple out. Or if she can get a tile that goes here that cuts the red meeple out. So I don't think Noah's going to attach any of the city pieces here unless they cut one of the 2 red meeples out, this top one and this bottom one. So I think Noah's going to sit there and do their own thing. And I think it's Red's prerogative to try and join these up. At the moment, they're all scoring little bits and bobs. Red can win the city, but Noah's not going to invest any more tiles in that city unless it closes Red out.
I could not agree with you more if I were a bobble-headed doll on the hood of a car.
Like that. Like that. There we go.
And we've just seen that's actually a really fantastic play. You might be thinking, guys, boys and goyles and everyone else at home, you might be thinking that Mars looks all over this board, and that's true, they are. But their aggression comes at a cost, and that cost is the reduction of 2 meeples on the board. Whether or not Mars can make that meeple investment pay off is yet to be seen. Noah Concepcion's last move there guarantees at least that they're going to tie. They won't get forced out of that big castle towards the right-hand side of the board. It also, however, enables gave Mars an end tile piece for their castle. So Mars has a really simple castle finish over to the bottom left, which they chose not. No, they couldn't take. They couldn't take with that piece.
No.
But they just took 4 points very easily. I think that Mars is showing us a really good, with the exception of this massive castle that's contested over the right. I think we're seeing a lot of great smart play by Mars and Noah both.
Noah can place this in here now. I think that's a really good tile to place in this game.
That is. It cuts off everybody. That actually finishes the castle.
It doesn't. You need
That's
one more,
massive.
but you need one more. But you need one more here. But because this has got a road on it, it's very hard for Mars to continue down and join up. They'd need the repeat tile and mirror it, and that's the only tile in the game that will kind of go here and allow them to still try to join it up. So I think that's really good for Noah. Noah's got the option of putting a meeple on. They probably shouldn't do that. Oh my God! They drew it. They drew it.
Yes.
Oh my God! They drew
he took the road.
Yeah, but he drew the tile that he needed to join them up again.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
The battle continues. Yeah. Mars says, "You think that you're Whoop! We've got to refresh that."
That was
Mars
me, yeah.
You think that you're out of the woods just yet? You're not. Thank you, Lady Luck, for giving me the option of contesting here. Of course, it's not just Lady Luck. Mars has made the decision to continue the contestation. Now, I don't think there's any way for Noah Concepcion to just eat this castle on her own.
You'd need another one of these. There's one more left in the deck. Another one of these tiles will do it.
I stand corrected. Thank you very much.
But that's the only one. There's only one in the deck that allows Noah to split these 2 cities up. So that's good. That's good though, because that makes this harder to finish.
Well played by Noah. I don't think that Mars would mind if Noah managed to find a double-ended castle tile, because then Mars would take would just complete their own castle in their own right, and Noah then would be helping them complete their own castle.
Yeah, I still think it's better for Noah, because if you can place a tile here that completes her, she gets 2 meeples back, and then she can spend her efforts trying to stop this from being finished.
I wonder if Noah minds that much in allowing Mars to join in on that massive castle, because she's also getting points from Mars now. There's two castle tile places and a shield, and I think that her castle is small enough to where she doesn't mind so much.
If Mars joins them up, it benefits Mars, not Noah, doesn't it? Because currently Noah's got all this. Noah's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, excuse me, you're absolutely right.
Noah's got 7 points to 3. Oh, hang on. Oof.
Oh, the fight continues.
Yeah, advantage Mars now, I'm afraid. Advantage Mars.
If well, of course, Noah is banking now that Mars is not going to draw the tile that they need to connect everything, because you're absolutely right. So Noah is now super incentivized to try to find ways to block that castle from connecting, because then they lose all the investment there. This is actually shaping up into a really tough battle.
I would potentially. Oh, you can't do it, can you?
You can build to the side. Yeah, absolutely. You can send a road there. You can send 2 roads there.
Yeah, you want to be putting a road here so that you can build a road round or something like that.
Yep. I'd be looking for a curved road that curves up, and then I'd be looking for another curved road that goes in towards those castles to reduce. So then you'd need the 3 castle tile with the road ending, which we've already seen 2 placed, and I believe that there aren't that many more.
There's only 1 left.
There's only 1 left.
Yeah.
Which reduces how many tiles there are, that as opposed to being able to find the four corner castle tile that you could also use to put in there, or the normal 3 without the road.
Yeah. So as it stands, there's quite a few tiles that will go in this spot. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How However, Noah's going to continue the fight. I think now whoever wins this city will probably win their game. They've all both spent quite a lot of effort into doing that. I'm just going to zoom out a
Yes,
bit. Just going to zoom
I
out a
certainly
bit.
agree. I can't. It looks really bad for Noah here. Mars's initial investment seems to be. Whoa! Before I said that, here we go. Noah recognizes it as well. The game now revolves around this large castle.
Yeah.
Steve, if you had to name this large castle that both players are fighting over, what would you name it?
Oh, Castle Blenheim. I don't know.
Blenheim. It is Castle Blenheim. It is. On the board, we've got a lead of 12 points by the red pieces, Mr. Mars 15, or Miss or they. They've got one meeple left in hand, and it looks like, oh dear, yeah, it looks like we're gonna have a real tussle here, a real tussle all the way to the end. I don't think that 12 points is going to end up. I think that the 12 points actually is going to make a difference, particularly depending on the context of this massive castle that we've got.
Yeah, I think it's a low. I think it feels like a low-scoring game, to be honest.
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
And I think Mars is closer to getting some of their meeples back. They've got 2 versus 1 at the moment.
Super interesting. Repercussion for all of their fighting over castles means that neither player has the meeples remaining to fight for the farmland. And this is a very interesting board texture, which sometimes happens. We just don't have farms because everything is everyone's trying to take it over one massive castle. And they just can't. They just simply cannot afford to place another meeple just for the farmers.
I think that's true. I also think it's true that there isn't really that good a farm. The best farm you've got only scores 6 points, which gets these two. So I don't think there's a good farm. In theory, if I was to place a farmer, especially as red, I would place a farmer near this to complete this. And also you're going to get this one, and probably this one. This is probably going to finish at some point as well. So if I was to place a farmer as red, I would place it near this cathedral. You do have 2 meeples, so you could possibly afford 1. And by putting 1 meeple down on a farmland that's quite big, it makes it really hard for Noah to take it off you because Noah would need to invest 2 meeples. They only have 1. So you're not really going to get beat on it.
Interesting question here for Mars. Mars has the potential to take 4 quick points by placing this castle tile that we see just above my head in the bottom left-hand corner of the board, which also helps get their abbey closer towards completion. I think one of the key points that they'll be thinking of, though, is if they do that, that incentivizes Noah to place her last piece to try to take that farmland, because that farmer would be worth 9 points then. 3 points for each of those completed.
I've just had some... George, thank you very much for commenting. Mars 15 is the world champion of Carcassonne, I believe. So we've picked a good match here. I mean, Mars has actually lost a match today, but they're ranked really high in the site. And I believe, congratulations, Mars, you are the world champion of Carcassonne. So we've unconsciously picked an excellent match to watch here.
Noah certainly has her work cut out for her, but Noah is no stranger, of course, to world caliber competition, having been a multi-year entrant in the Mind Sports Olympiad, trained personally by Parco in his Institute for Really Intelligent Board Gamers. I make her sound like some kind of mutant because she kind of is. Well, not in a terrible way, but in terms of like developing her intellectual skills, Noah has an international reputation herself. So we'll see if she can find a way to overcome this 20-point deficit, as well as what looks like a losing position in this massive castle Blenheim over towards the right-hand side.
Yeah.
And just as we say that, Noah is looking to with that placement now, there's only one tile on the game that unites everything, and that is the four corner castle piece, which will make that massive castle a wash. I think that's enough for Noah. Noah would be happy splitting the points there. But then the question becomes, how is Noah going? If that is a wash, how is Noah going to make up the remaining 20 points between themselves and Mars?
So they've placed a farmer. Mars has placed a farmer very close to where we suggested doing it, but done it after this and on an excellent tile, because this tile potentially gives you 2 extra things you're going to score your farmers for. I also think that this is more of a safety net for Noah. I think if either player was to put one there, I think it benefits red more than green. I think individually green's scoring more points here. So I think if red would place one and they tied, it benefits red. So I think this is more of a safety net for now. If she didn't place that and red was able to find a piece that cut her out, she would lose even more points. So although she's placed this and threatening to join up, I actually think red's the one who wants to place one there more than green currently.
Well pointed out. I think that the farmer just placed by Mars is super crucial because that's 9 points already. But as you pointed out, it's got the potential to grow much more. And I really find it. I think it's going to be really tough for Noah here. She's got an uphill battle to climb. This 20 points is going to be a mountain because they're losing on the castle game. Excuse me, they're tied on the castle game. Except in the Abbey game, Mars is ahead in Abbeys, although Noah has an Abbey placement herself, and she's got the decision of whether or not she's going to place her last meeple. Mars is ahead on a farmer game, and with Mars's castle in the center, which has the potential also to complete. It's going to be really difficult to rein in. Like Noah doesn't have any other advantage any real large advantage over Mars, apart from the fact that she's got two Abbeys and Mars has one.
She hasn't. She didn't place a meeple on the second
She
abbey.
didn't. She chose not to, and that's certainly one of the costs of having invested so heavily in this castle battle for both of them, as well as the road robber in the top left hand corner of the board.
Yeah, I think the other benefit for placing the farmer where they did it is that they've made the road harder to complete. There isn't a tile that completes the road in one go now, which means Noah's going to struggle to get the meeple back quickly, and it's pretty difficult to complete this now. Because you need specifically the tile with half a city on and a curved road going left, and
Really
then
interesting.
an end road piece as well.
Yeah, really interesting placement by Mars 15 for the last road. On first glance, it looks like that makes it more difficult for Mars to complete their city. Of course, now they're looking specifically for an end road piece with an end castle piece with a road that veers off to the right hand side. I'm sure Mars, especially as the world champion, would have calculated the odds of the tiles remaining. But
Well, I
is
think
there
that's
another place?
yeah. It's basically, I think imagine you turn the road one turn anti-clockwise. Then there's no tile that goes there. So Noah had the opportunity to put a tile there, which meant this is impossible to complete. The way
Gotcha.
that Mars has done it, the tile that would go there anyway was the only one that fits. They haven't actually reduced the number of tiles going there. The only one that could have gone there before this tile was placed is a semicircle with a road coming off it. And
Gotcha.
now
A
that's still the
defensive
case.
play.
So basically they've restricted this tile to the only one that fits, but now it can't be blocked. So that city can complete guaranteed, assuming they draw the tile they were waiting for anyway.
Really interesting stuff. So Mars has this road piece, and it doesn't look like it's on the surface. It looks like it's not going to be a very impactful piece to play. Would you consider placing would you have any idea? Would you have any consideration towards placing a robber at this stage of the game?
I don't think I would. What I think I'd probably do is put it on either side of this city at the top. I think what you're trying to do is stop Noah getting pieces back. That's how Noah can get back in the game. Have some quick scores. Put a tile down, get a meeple back. Put a tile down, get a meeple back. And I think you'll be looking to place it here or here. The alternative is to try and place a second farmer. I don't think I'd place a robber unless the robber's already scoring me 4 or 5 points. So potentially, if there was a long enough road that I could chuck a robber on, I'd do that. But I think I will be placing it either side of this top city.
I don't think Mars will be fighting to place a last piece with a farmer. Although we were surprised last game with that. I agree with you. I think that the time has passed for robbers, for road robbers. And I certainly would echo your statements here. Let's see how the world champion plays through this turn. Really interesting that this is actually one of the longest thinks that Mars 15 has had. I wonder how. Of course, we don't have access to their audio, so we can't actually ask them. But I wonder what they're thinking about.
They might be looking at just what tiles are left, basically. They probably have the same information that we have, all the tiles in the game. They're looking for potential completions. They're looking for potential ways that Noah can get back in the game. With a 20-point lead, this city's like a wash. They've both got one cathedral. Noah's got a slightly longer road, but you're ahead on farm. So I think you're ahead. I definitely think Mars is ahead, and I think I'd be looking to just stop Noah scoring some quick points, to be honest. We have the world champion's name. It's Marion Kirken. Marion Kirken. So I don't know if Marion is a male or female. I think you can have some male Marions. But Marion Kirken from Romania, we believe. So thank you, George Bors, who's watching and giving us some information that we didn't have.
Thank you, George. As well as a big shout out to the rest of our friends out in the internet lands for joining our broadcast. If you have things that you hate about what we're doing, please let us know. We love angry conversations. If you love what we're doing, also please let us know. Those are more fun than the hateful comments. And Mars, after that long deliberation, our good friend Marion, who I think you're right. I think it's both a man and a woman's name in many, or anybody's name in many different countries. They've chosen to do exactly what we just advised. They've chosen to use that piece to block off Noah rather than try to take road points themselves.
And the weird thing that's done, actually, coincidentally, there were only two. There's only three places Noah could have put this, and now she can't put it here. There's only two places. She's got the choice of placing it here, or here. So I think she's probably just going to have to bite the bullet and do it here, because I don't know. I don't like either choice. I don't like either choice.
Well, one choice is clearly better than the other. If you place it in the top right-hand corner of the board, you only give points to Mars. So you're only giving 2 points to Mars?
You're giving points to Mars either way, because I think if you put it here, Mars ties you, and you're winning this. You've got more points currently here.
Oh, are you? No. Excuse me, you're right.
Green's got 9 currently, and red's got 4. So actually, I think mathematically it's better to put it here. But that doesn't feel nice. Right. That doesn't feel nice at all, does it?
No, it doesn't. You hate putting yourself in a position where you have to give points to your opponent, and yet in game states, particularly with these top ranked players, you're looking to put your opponent in zugzwang. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't. They're forced to help you out.
Just been confirmed that Marion is a male, and they're having a few connection difficulties. I'm looking in the chat log actually, and they were offline, then they were online, then they were offline, then they were online. Then they were offline, then they're online, and they're back to online now. So
we're very lucky that there are a couple of things happening. One, that the gameplay has been at a really fast pace, and two, that neither player appears to be in time trouble. We're nearing the end of our of this match specifically. Can I ask Steve for an update? How many tiles are there remaining?
32, actually, Chris. 32.
Oh, wow.
And you can see what Noah's done. So I think if you're just a light casual Carcassonne player, that move makes no sense to you. But Noah's a calculating lady. She knows that she just did the calculation that we did on stream. She knows that although she's giving points to red either way, this move here gives red fewer points than this move here.
Certainly, and thank you so much for that lovely perceptive insight. Marion, well, we hope that your internet comes back. We hope that you don't end up with time troubles, because you're showing us a fantastically played match so far, and it would be a shame if your ability to compete in today's tournament and to show us more matches is truncated by something as mundane as internet. Although, like, this is one of the issues of playing an online tournament. These things will happen.
Yeah, it's nothing you can do. I think players have got to be aware. I think at the start when you mention what the penalties are for running out of time and stuff, I think it says as one of the caveats, it says if your opponent's having connection difficulties, please try to be sympathetic towards them and stuff like that. And I don't really think I've seen anyone, although I've seen a few people wanted to. I don't think I've actually seen anyone claim a time victory. I think they've just let the site run their course, and if the site says you've run out of time, then fair enough.
Really contentious here, because just as valid, and certainly something that I've spoken about with many other commentators, is the idea of it's a tournament. If it's in the rules and you can claim a victory via time, and time is one of the components you should be paying attention to, then there's nothing wrong with claiming a victory on time. Nothing wrong whatsoever.
I think I personally would be happier doing it live. I think if you run out of time live, you're both in the same situation, you haven't got connection difficulties. You might have connection difficulties with your brain, but you don't have connection difficulties with the internet or anything. So live, I'd be perfectly happy with. I think online, I generally give the benefit of the doubt. If it looks like they're having internet difficulties, or, as it sometimes happens, if I have a chat with my opponent, and we're chatting through the match, and they go, 20, 30 seconds into their time bank because they're chatting to me, I'm like, I'll let you off, that's fine, because I've made you chat. I play fairly fast, so usually I don't run out of time. But if they're taking their time to type and chat back to me, I will usually let them off a bit.
Lovely sportsmanship. Of course, it is. It's known in some of these games where conversation is a big part of them. That your use of conversation can be done at certain times to destabilize your opponent's mental processes. And certainly,
I'm not like that.
Certainly, some games like Scrabble, some games where like chess, where the conversation is less of an element. It's not an element. Actually, it's considered quite rude if you should talk that way. But there are other games like Catan, where increasingly the social aspect and how you communicate with each other is an integrated part, it's part of the fabric of the game. So if that is true, then how can you is not using up your opponent's time and using their consideration, isn't that simply part of the tactics? Like in Catan, the very simplest thing is pointing at another player and going, hey, they're in the lead. Whether or not it's true, the fact that you can point at someone and go, hey, trade with me, or don't trade with them, or put the rubber on them. But we're not talking about Catan. We'll be talking about Catan later today. Let's get stuck back into this game. It looks like the castle in the top right-hand corner, nominally owned by our good friend Mars 15, Marion, the world champion, is simply growing. This thing looks like a cancer. It is growing uncontrolled. Tell me what do you see here, Steve?
It's worth 8 points currently. Every shields is worth, it makes the tower worth 2 points instead of 1. So it's currently worth 8 points there with their 20-point lead. Noah fighting the good fight. I think basically on the next turn she really needs to get a meeple back. She really needs to get a meeple back so that she can go meeple score, meeple score. That's the only way back into the game. I think she's winning on this bit and this bit, but she's going to lose all her advantage back here. So this city's worth 7, this city's worth 8. So already, just looking here, it's about level, I think, currently. Obviously, Red has more spaces to add to their city. I think Noah really needs to get this meeple back. And then even if she can go meeple score, this Mars has got a farmer. I have also been told by George that Mars was ahead in game 2 and lost on time. So I think that's potentially connection difficulties as well. So I think Mars has got to just be, at this moment in time, they've got more time left than Noah. So connection difficulties aside, I think they should be fine. Hopefully, we can hope that's the case. And it would be a shame for you to kind of enter a tournament, be winning all your matches and get knocked out because your internet's a bit rubbish.
A very frustrating feeling, something that all gamers out there would have experienced. Both players then, this is a 3-1 match. Both players are winning in. Basically, every match from here on out from both players is do or die. So the loser from this match is going to be out of contention for our playoffs, which is going to be heartbreaking for both of them, I'm sure, because you don't get to this level of competition without being able to be passionate about your game. Now, something you mentioned earlier about Noah needing meeples back. Noah has just played their final meeple, and from the board texture currently, it is not a simple matter for Noah to get back any of her meeples. Mars has done a fantastic job of placing tiles in such a way that that no one needs very specific tiles in order to complete, and that isn't true of Mars. Despite the fact that Mars only has 1 meeple in hand, Mars can still very much grow, as we've just seen. Mars continue to add on to their own castle, and I think that's part of that's a big concept that happens in 2-player variants, especially in Carcassonne. Oh, we've just completed Mars has just used their meeple in hand to hit and run, to complete a castle, immediately take the 4 points, put it back. Noah doesn't have that option anymore. Noah's
really, because Noah's behind. Noah just can't keep a meeple in hand. I think given she's so far behind, I think she's doing the right thing. I think she needs to just put a meeple down there. What she didn't want to do is connect this up and not put a meeple on it and allow Mars like a free 6 points. You can't do that. So I think she decided to add to it. She's going to be looking for to try and get one of these meeples back. The only meeples she can get back in 1 tile is this meeple up here, looking for a similar tile that Mars needs to fill this gap, or this meeple here, looking for a curved road. What Mars is going to potentially try and do is put a curved road down here, because that will make this space much harder to fill.
Yeah, there's also one other potential, which is to finish off the road, the rubber in the top left-hand corner for Noah.
You can't do that in 2. You can't do that in 1 tile though. You need at least 2. There's not 1 tile that fits there.
That's true.
Not in the base game anyway.
Yes, but it's a very difficult position. Now, back to the point that I was mentioning earlier, a big concept in the 2-player variant is generally you're going to see 1 player create a castle, and you're going to see another player create another castle. And there's going to be a tension point of when they choose to steal each other's castles, as we explored in this game. But generally, the reason you want to have your own castle is so that when you draw castle pieces, you can simply add it to your score. And that's actually one of the tension points here that I found so interestingly navigated by Mars. Because rather than start their own castle, one of their immediate moves, was to make a significant investment of 4 meeples, to fight Noah for what was presumably her castle. Super extraordinary stuff.
So Mars is just blocking this. Now that restricts. There was quite a few tiles that would fit there. Now there is not. If you actually look, has Noah got the tile that fits there? She hasn't. I believe this is the. Oh
No,
no, this is the
wrong,
wrong
wrong
way
way.
round. It's the wrong way round. So in theory, she would be close. There's quite a few tiles that would have fit here. Now there's only one type. You're basically looking. They're both looking for the same tile. Oh no, that's not true. That's not true. I think Noah's got the tile that Mars needs. Mars needs the tile that Noah's got in her hand right now to complete
Yes.
this one.
Yep. Yep.
So Noah's probably going to add it to this city down the bottom. She's just deciding whether she puts it here or here, I think.
One of the fantastic things about Carcassonne is it forces you to get a graphic brain. You got to be able to rotate pictures in your head. Obviously, when we're playing in person, you can take the tile, you can kind of like move it around and things. But your spatial reasoning skills are a really big part of Carcassonne, and super interesting that we have this time the element of the time bank, because you got to do it quickly. Right now, the situation on the time is Noah is behind by time by about 2 minutes now. So she's behind on the board, she's behind in meeples, she's behind on time. It's not looking good for Noah. However, having said that, it is never count Noah out. She's a calculator, and she's known to be quite resilient. I just think that the factors are too are kind of cascading upon Noah here, and it looks like there's very little she can do against this particularly strong position by Mars.
So Mars is doing the same sort of thing. To block this tile, they need to get to it. They need to place one here. And to place one here, you need to place one to the left or the right. So basically, to place this here to give them the opportunity to hopefully try and do them in next time. And they had the option of placing the road in or not. And I think there are more tiles with one flat grassland that can block this up as opposed to a road specifically that does that. So I think they've done it the right way around.
That's actually a really interesting point to raise, and certainly something that I hope our viewers at home are going to pay attention to. Road tiles, and this is quite common at the higher levels of play, road tiles are very rarely used for robbers to get an extra point. Instead, they are used, as we've seen today, as blocking tiles. Your road tiles are generally seen at the competitive level as ways to stop your opponents from getting points, either by setting up, exactly as Steve mentioned, or by directly blocking. So this idea of setting up the block and then blocking is a very common concept in higher level Carcassonne play.
A couple of points there. This tile would have gone to the end of this, but they've been blocked. And Noah didn't have a meeple, so she missed out on 3 points again. So I think she's just, yeah. And if you can see the tile that Mars has just drawn, this now will not complete. There is no tile in the base game. Now, if you've played a Carcassonne tile, it's like, hang on a minute, I know one that fits there. You've played one of the expansions, and the expansions added a lot more different tiles, especially a lot more of the city tiles with road bits going in weird ways. There is a tile that fits in some of the expansions, but the base game, there is not. So this meeple is dead now. As are these 3 meeples. So of Noah's 7 meeples, they're all out. 4 of them are actually reduced to not being able to be played. And what you can see that Mars is doing is to place the tile here. Can you see what they're going to do with that, Chris?
I would imagine this is a setup for a block to place another tile towards Noah to make it even more unlikely.
I fully agree with you. So basically now there is no tile in the base game that fits this gap. So Noah's only got 2 meeples that they can get back. So bear in mind her score's 7. She's only got 2 meeples she can get back, and this one's in danger. There is potentially some tiles that can go here that would make it impossible to finish this gap. So we'll see. Anything with like a city on one half of this will go here. And I think Mars isn't going to place their last meeple down unless it scores some points immediately.
It's really interesting that and there we go. Noah Concepcion has life breathed back into her. Now she has the capacity to score points, but maybe too little, too late. This 15 points is going to feel like a Mount Everest climb.
19 now. 19
just
now.
Got
one at the top, yeah.
I'm not sure, Steve, if you're a fan of mixed martial arts, but for those of you at home who follow the UFC, it feels very much like Mars is a BJJ specialist, a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialist who has Noah in a compromising position and is simply squeezing that headlock in. That all they need to do now, and you'll notice actually through the game tiles that they've just played, Mars has literally only been playing for the past 10 tiles moves that largely stop Noah from getting her meeple back or from completing easy points. Mars has managed to get this massive lead, and kind of really restricting the options that Noah has because of her meeple placement.
Oh, that's an excellent one for Noah. That's the sort of thing she needed. But that's the sort of thing she needed the meeple for. I still think it's too little, too late. I think Mars has got a farmer. Mars has got 12 points from his farmer. Mars has got this much bigger city, so Mars is outscoring on cities here, although Noah kind of catches up here. But there's also a lead of 6 points, but Mars has got a meeple, so Mars gets to score this 4 points, get a meeple back. So you don't actually need a high in Carcassonne. You don't need a high score. You need a higher score than your opponent, and that's exactly the way Mars has been playing this game. Mars has had that lead and think, I'm ahead here. I just need to not lose this lead. And rather than trying to maximise the potential score, in theory, if you're playing Carcassonne to maximise the score, everything's nice and friendly and fits together nicely with no gaps, and everything completes, and you all score loads and loads of points. In a two-player game, it's much more aggressive. You're aiming to say, "Oh, my opponent's got a meeple there. I'm doing everything I can to either reduce their score rather than increase my own, because they're going to be blocking my things anyway. I'm not going to worry too much about finishing my own things because they're going to try and block me anyway. But if I can block them, I can stick their meeples on the board, and if they don't get their meeples back regularly, they're going to lose out."
Interesting here that Mars chooses to deploy their final meeple on that Abbey. That Abbey, I think that's just a nod to the fact that the game is ending soon. How many tiles remaining do we have?
There's 1 tile remaining, so after Noah's tile, they'll have 1 more go each. So Noah's got 2 more goes. Noah's drawn a cathedral, or a monastery, or whichever they're called. She's definitely going to be placing a meeple on this, because this is a pretty high score. The highest she can get that I can see is 6 points by placing it here. You can get 6 points. But the other thing she's going to look at is to whether placing a farmer will score more. Is there a place where she can place a farmer? I wonder if placing a farmer there would have scored more. I don't think
it wouldn't have. No,
it's just 3 points. Just got 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like we're rounding out the end of this game. A really fascinating game, and a really big concept that happens in two-player games, not just Carcassonne, but towards the wider family of games, is any point that you don't score, any point that you don't take, you give to your opponent. And we've certainly seen that happen here with Mars, really fighting it out for every single point that Noah wants, really contesting everything.
So they're scoring everything now. So 54-36. There's Noah's last big score. She's got a cathedral to come as well. But she's not got a farmer at all. So she needs to be more than 12 points ahead before the farmer scores, and she's not going to be.
And she isn't. So we're gonna see the thing that we've been. It's actually Noah's been losing this game for a while, which is not something that happens a lot in Carcassonne. Sometimes, most games are a lot closer than this. But that's actually something that happened in the tournament level too. Sometimes you can see the writing on the wall for a long time before the results come in.
Yeah.
But this has been an excellent illustration of a lot of key Carcassonne concepts played by 2 world-class competitors, including the world champion. Congratulations both to Noah and to Mars 15 for showing us a fantastic game.
So if we look at the leaderboard, we've got 4 players on 5 now. So we've got Hognedge, we saw earlier, BB Costa, Sportar, and Game Over. They're there, and they're ranked based on how well their opponents have played. So basically, who's played the hardest opponents so far? That's been Hognedge. So these people, still one of these 4 will be our Swiss winner, the person who goes undefeated in Swiss with 2 games left to go. And all these people who've only lost 1, all these people, again, if any of these win 2 remaining games, they will also join them. So basically, to win 2 games, it's about 1 in 4. So basically, about a quarter of these players will join them. There's about 16 players there, so maybe about 4 of these players will join 2 or 3 of these people at the top here in our knockout round. We can see that Mars 15 is here. Mars is still in the mix. And you can see that the 2 people who drew earlier, Krezus and Hugh Miller, have since lost. And because they drew their match, they effectively eliminated each other. They need to get to 6 points, and there's only 2 matches remaining. They can only get to 5.5. That feels a bit harsh, doesn't it, Chris?
It is, but then again, the level of competition is super high, and this is the level of competition expected at the UK Championships of Carcassonne. It really is just that cutthroat. It is really interesting to note that these games, because luck is such a big part of the game as well as skill, it's not always the best player who wins the match. It's the best player who does the best with the tiles that they get. So it's consistent results over the end of not just one tournament but multiple tournaments, which will allow you to near the tops, as we've just seen. Mars 15, one of the strongest Catan players in the world, current world, a previous world champion at Carcassonne, coming in with 1 loss already. clearly it is not simply skill, which is a demarcator across these tournaments. There has to be there is, as we've discussed, there's a massive impact of luck as well. And that can be really frustrating for you as a gamer. For me, I think that's one of the things that allows us to grow the most, right? To understand, how do we deal with failure? How do we deal with failure in the context of wanting to get better? How do we accept that that not everything is in our control, and what games do we want to play because of them? Certainly a big theme across all the games that we've got, because a vast majority of games that we have across the board game arena, across the Mind Sports Olympiad throughout August, have at least some small element of luck, whether that be as big as the coin flip at the start to determine who plays first, or whether it is like Carcassonne, the order of the tiles that you draw. Board game is you just got to deal with luck, right? You just got to find a way to smile through it, and consistently, much to their credit, all of the winners that we've spoken to and the losers that we've spoken to have had that mentality very clearly displayed. That okay, I lost today, but that's okay. I'll still do what I can to win tomorrow.
I think luck attracts a lot of people to games. Basically, you won because you were skillful, and you lost because you're unlucky. It gives you a reason. It gives you a reason for losing for a lot of people. Some people struggle to handle variance mentally, and the fact that there's some luck in games, they will blame the luck gods or whatever they're doing. And it's how they deal with loss. I think some people, if you were to play chess, like, there's virtually no luck in chess, is there? Whether who plays black or white, there's a slight advantage at the very, very, very top levels. But in theory, most top-level chess players should be draws if you're both equally skilled, which means if you lose at chess, it's completely your own fault. And some people can't bear that.
Absolutely. So, that's actually a really good point, that luck is there to be blamed. You can blame luck instead of you. You can flip tables. But no, I've always believed that that board gaming, the only reason that you play high level board games, the only reason that you're interested in improving yourself through board game play, is to learn more about who you are and how you think, and to get better at these skills of how do we handle loss, and then taking that and extrapolating it out into the real world, becoming better at not being a sore loser, becoming better at learning, asking more questions, learning how to study, learning how to research, finding joy, finding your reasons to keep going. At least that is for me. Now, apart from the rest of our motivational speeches here at the Mind Sports Olympiad, we're just about to head into the 6th and penultimate round here at the Carcassonne UK Championships, with 2 rounds to go. Especially in this tournament format, where we have a 6-1 cutoff. Everything left to play for. There's a lot of players in that mix, many of whom have to win out, and that can be a lot of pressure. How would you normally deal with that pressure in a tournament setting like this, Steve?
I think it massively comes down to having been there before. Having been in a situation before gives you a much better mindset to deal with it. I think I've played in some pool knockouts, and the very first time I got very far, I'm like, I was nervous, I was twitchy, I've never got this far before. Think, what happens if I win, what happens if I lose? It all plays in your mind. And when you've been in that situation before, maybe when you've won a tournament, all those nerves go away, and it becomes much easier to deal with.
I think there's nothing. I think you're absolutely right. Experience is the one ingredient here that we see recurring in these really high level players. And although people like Noah Concepcion, one of the things that makes her so formidable is she's consistently evolving, consistently learning. Every new tournament is a new evolution of her, and she's constantly refining herself, as are all of the top Pentamind competitors, of which we currently don't have very many of. Although we do have Jeff VB7. We see Jeff VB7. We saw him play yesterday in the King Domino tournaments. And it's and speaking of King Domino competitors, we've got Musicello, the winner of our King Domino tournament yesterday. Spoiler alert, excuse me, if you haven't seen that just yet, please enjoy that. King Domino, of course, being the 2017 Spiel des Jahres winner, best board game in the world, and a really, really good game. We strongly recommend you have a look at that. It looks like they're playing someone from an Asian country. Please forgive my ignorance.
I think it's
here.
Taiwan again. Yeah, it's Taiwan again.
Yes, yeah. Free Taiwan. Free Taiwan. We're probably going to lose sponsors, of course. Glory to our Chinese overlords. No glory to our Chinese overlords. Democracy now. Here we go. Cheng Feng Tai. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Of course, I've messed up the intonation. Playing our representative from Lithuania, Musicello, a really strong abstract games player, as we saw yesterday. How do you see the opening moves going? Really interesting that Cheng Feng Tai has an Abbey early on. What impact do you think that'll have on the farmer game?
I don't think we've seen an Abbey early on in any of the games we've watched, actually. They've all come out quite late. Muzzacello had the option. I think everything's been straightforward, with the one exception. Muzzacello played this as their first piece and then took the robber. Now, it's echoing back to what I was saying earlier, that generally, if I want to place an early robber, I usually want one end of the road closed off.
First castle.
Just so I can do that. And when the first castle's finished, so Cheng Feng Tsai has just look what their moves have been. It goes castle, abbey, castle, castle, finished. 10 points. Thank you very much.
Strong. Really strong start from Cheng Feng Tsai. And something that is really interesting is we're seeing the concept that we mentioned last match, which is that both players start off, this is my castle, this is your castle. And it's very much like here is my area, this is yours. So far, we haven't seen many blocking moves. Of course, you might be wondering out there, what the heck is this blocking move thing that you're talking about? You want to tell me more about that, Steve?
Yeah, so basically, if you're looking to try and block this black city here, red will be trying to place a tile so that black can't place a tile here or here. So they're looking to kind of come around and place tiles that are going to make it awkward or impossible for black to do that. You'll notice black didn't claim this city until it was harder to block. So black's first piece was here. And when there was nothing around the edge of it, it's actually quite easy to be blocked. But then when red goes here and black draws this, black can build this city in such a way that they're struggling to block it. Red's trying to fight in it, but what I think black will do is black will try and get a tile here first. They will try and place one here. And to some extent,
yeah, that's a good piece for Cheng Feng Tsai.
That is a good piece, yes. They're probably going to try and join in on it now. And we saw in the last game, there is one piece that actually cuts them off. There's the piece with two semicircles. So semicircle, semicircle cuts these off. So Muzzacello would prefer to draw it because of the two halves of the city. The side that Muzzacello owns currently is worth more points. It's worth 6 versus 2. So if they can share it, they narrow that off. Yeah, looking good, looking good. They are both playing very fast. And on the site, Muzzacello, I believe, is ranked 14th in the world on Board Game Arena at Carcassonne.
I love the fact that Muzzacello and all of these competitors are super strong from all of their different regions around the world. Certainly something which we're looking to encourage here at the Mind Sports Olympiad, this idea of an international community of gamers. Really interesting placement just then by Cheng Feng Tsai, and something that I cannot go past is the lack of farmers already at this stage of the game. Why do you think that is?
I think they're both fighting for cities. I think if there's a lot of roads coming out, I'd be more inclined to put farmers down. But city tiles potentially have got a higher score, a higher upper limit to what they can score you. So if I think, and you'll notice that there's a lot higher frequency of city pieces than non-city pieces this game, which hasn't always been the case. So on this particular game, I think I'd rather just focus on the cities. There have been very few times where I'd wanted to do that. And the other possibility is which farm's the best. Is this city going to get finished? We don't know. The big ones we've seen in all the games we've had so far haven't finished. So the only finished city is this one, and I'm not necessarily sure where the best bit to put a farmer is. Is it on the left or the right? So I don't think there's a clear good farming spot yet. And we'll see how that goes.
Muzzacello has echoed the appetites of our good friend Mars 15 by deciding, you know what, let's fight. Let's get him out there. We have this massive tussle for another big castle, just as we saw earlier on. But unfortunately, I think that Cheng Feng Tsai has our red player has the advantage here because they've already scored a castle. So this is
they've also got this. They've also got
and they've got that abbey.
Yeah.
So if
they can join these up, they get the abbey back.
This fight is for supremacy over this massive castle that Muzzacello is doing. Interesting to see how both players choose to continue investing or not in that idea. So Cheng Feng Tsai starting a new castle that is just theirs, presumably, hoping, I'd imagine, to try to get a quick 4 points. I would only imagine that this end piece that they've just got is going to match their top castle, returning their little meeple, and we may end up seeing our very first farmer. I am completely wrong. Ignore me entirely. Oh, they choose instead, Cheng Feng Tsai, to elongate this battle. All right, giddy up. Let's and both. I want to draw your attention to their rankings on Board Game Arena. Both of them are really, really high. Now, you don't have to be a super member of Board Game Arena in order to play Carcassonne. Although online play, just like in every other game variant, really accelerates one's growth because you can play a lot of matches in a small amount of time. So it's certainly an indicator. It's not the be all and end all, but it's one indicator of player strength. Really interesting here, friends and family back home, that amongst top players, we consistently see this willingness to fight for castles. right? To start this like mafia-esque battle, everything all in for the center. Maybe something that is worth trying out at your home, although not if you want to make friends, win friends, and influence people. This is a very aggressive tactic. Can you tell me more about that, Steve?
I actually think this move isn't to elongate the castle. I think it's to block this robber, because now this tile's much harder to fill. I think this placement here was to block the robber. And what you don't want to do early on when everyone's got a few meeples is leave a semicircle of a city unmeepled. You basically want to be putting on it so the opponent doesn't have that free 4 points that they can get.
Aha. Really interesting consideration there, that it's less about the castle and more about restricting or reducing your opponent's meeple access.
So like that. So basically, if they didn't put one on here, then if the other player draws a semicircle, they can get a free 4 points. And if you get 4 points a tile, you're going to win the game, because there's like 48. There's like, I don't know how many tiles in the game. Is it about 80 tiles in the game? 70, 80 tiles?
I believe it is. Well,
something like that. Maybe in 60s or something. So basically, if you're scoring 4 points a tile, you're going to win. By far, you're going to get a much higher score. You're going to get like 100 and something points.
There are 72 terrain tiles in Carcassonne.
Yeah, so you place 36 of them, and if you get 4 points a tile, that's going to be 144 points or so.
Yes.
Black is going to do quite well, actually. If you look how Black's doing here, they've got 2 abbeys as opposed to Red's 1. And by adding this space, you not only complete that, but you add to this one as well. And you'll notice that Red is also trying to block off this robber. So like in the last game we saw, you're trying to block off the robbers. Black managed to get their robber back from this space because they drew one of the few tiles that fits in the gap. But this one is now going to be difficult. There's only one type of tile that will fit in this gap. And
the triple road ending.
Yeah, I'm just going to see how many of them are in the game.
In the top left-hand corner of the board, Steve, there's an unpopulated abbey. I can only believe that was Musicello when that was a black pieces when Black didn't have an active meeple.
No, it's Chengsai. It was Chengsai. They decided to score the road instead. They placed it and scored 3 points to the road.
That is really interesting. A really unorthodox choice.
If that's your only meeple, you might want to do that instead of leaving a meeple on the abbey.
Of
so
course.
if you're running out of meeples, it might be like the lesser of two evils. It scores fewer points, but you get your meeple back.
Yes, of course. But I believe that at that point, Cheng Feng Sai had more than one meeple left in hand, was floating at 2. So very interesting value proposition there for Cheng, choosing to take the roads rather than the abbey. As we continue to see the south end side of the board develop, we're seeing more fights for this castle, and it certainly looks like the central castle is owned by Black, will not be completed, and the 2 red castles there are in contestation here now. So we're seeing a fierce battle in the center. Cheng Feng Sai has a supreme advantage of meeples, 3 meeples to 1 in hand for Musicello. We'll see if that ends up being something that Cheng Feng Sai leverages in terms of fighting for farmlands or fighting for castles, or whether or not Musicello is going to be able to complete meeples on the board, especially these abbeys, and return their meeples in time. What do you think, Steve?
Well, I think Cheng Feng Sai's made a good move here. They've placed this tile here, which is going to stop this meeple scoring very easily. The only tiles that will go in this space, there's only one left in the game. It's this tile, this specific tile,
it's with
an abbey with a single road off it. Yeah. And there's only one left in the game. So Musicello, if they draw it early, they're going to be laughing, because they not only kind of get this meeple back, score this, they can even plonk a guy in it and get like 7 points, plus potentially up to 9 as well. And it depends how well they draw it. But if Cheng Feng Sai draws it, or Musicello doesn't draw it till right near the end of the game, it's going to be really bad for them.
I think that actually is a really perceptive insight into the reason why Cheng Feng Sai placed their abbey in the top left-hand corner and chose to score the road rather than the abbey itself. Because a very common idea in these 2-player games, especially like games like Agricola or Terra Mystica, is to put yourself in a position where you can't be blocked and to block your opponent. And we certainly have seen that played to fabulous effect in Mars 15's game with No Concepcion just then, and in this game now with Musicello being blocked or being attempted to be blocked by Cheng Feng Sai in multiple different ways.
If you're wondering how these players are doing, these players have both won 4, lost 1. So if either of these players loses, they're out of the contention for the quarterfinals. So this
High
is kind
stakes.
of like it's like I said earlier. This is like one of those win and ins. It's
Do
all
or
down
die.
to this. Yeah, if you lose this year, not out of the tournament, you can still place quite highly. You can still place like ninth or so and get some pantomime points. If ninth will get you a good enough score to add to your existing points. But if you're
I don't
trying to
think
win
it will.
if you're trying to win the event, this is you need to win this match. Where both these players need to win this
For
match.
unfortunately for the pantomime scoring, with the advent of these really high players, it looks like the only relevant scores are podium finishes for the majority of games, and so the that razor sharp edge of win and in is has never been more relevant. As Cheng Feng Sai manages to complete quite an interesting looking castle in the bottom left hand corner of the board, and return their return their meeple. We will skate right past that idea, Mr. Steve, who used to be a teacher, who used to teach maths.
I
Actually,
don't know. You mean a spanner? That's a spanner, isn't it?
that's clearly a spanner.
Yeah.
Clearly a spanner. It could be nothing else. Comments down in the YouTube section below
Please
if
don't.
you'd like to. I actually used to be. I'm actually a qualified high school and primary teacher myself. So hopefully some students out there will be able to help us out with what that could be. Maybe draw some googly eyes. It's a giraffe, right? It looks like a giraffe. But let's get back straight into the game. We've got these road pieces. And
we can
we've
see
got
our
our very
first. We can see first farmer. Yeah.
So can we have a look at what points does that farmer
It's
have access to?
just 6, just these two. In theory,
However,
you should probably get to this one as well.
I believe so as well.
I think you can either get to this one via a tile here or a tile here.
And really interesting, it's really interesting here, the combination of that farmer space with the abbey piece just south to it, which wraps around. It's a very powerful combination because that abbey piece specifically allows a farmer to get access to both sides of the road. So you'll see that combination of plays happen a great deal at this level when it occurs. Of course, it cares a lot about the board texture and about how people are playing. Right now, let's go back to the game scores. Cheng Feng Sai on 40 points, Musicello on 11. On 29, excuse me, with a differentiation of 11. That, of course, doesn't take into account the unscored castle points, which Musicello looks like they're ahead on, and the unscored abbey points, which again Musicello looks like they're ahead on. So it looks like it's pretty dead even. You know, I would suggest that it'd be easy to count those two abbeys as at least 16 points, and these unfinished castles I would call out as a wash. There's still so much gameplay left, and it'll be interesting from this point to see whether or not both players will start a new castle or whether they're going to start entering the farmer game. These last two meeples that both players have, they're going to represent a big investment here. Yeah. How would you progress?
Well, I think like for Musicello, I think it depends. That there's some tiles. I mean, that's bad for Musicello because there was a tile there that would split them off and get Musicello's meeple back. So I think now it comes down to if Musicello can draw this, they're going to take the lead. I think you're right. It's very close at the moment. I'd like to think Cheng Feng Tsai is probably, although it's close in scores, I think they're probably in a slightly better position.
With the recent tile placement in the center of that castle, I believe that Cheng Feng Sai has the advantage now. And it's up to Musicello to come back, to re-answer.
Yeah. Cheng Feng Tsai started early on the farmer game, so there's probably not many great fields. You can see there's only actually 5 completed cities, and a lot of those aren't connected together. However, if you do get a farmer in this region here, you're going to get this city, the spanner or the wrench. You're also going to get the stick, I don't know what you want to call them, if we're going to start naming cities. You're also potentially going to get this one if this one finishes as well. So potentially this farmland here, it's quite a big one as well. That's also worth about 6 points. So potentially Musicello might decide to place a farmer in this one just so that Cheng Feng Tsai can't. That might be a sensible move, but you are short of meeples. Cheng Feng Tsai's got more meeples and more points. So maybe you have to do that, but I'm not sure it's like 100% correct.
With a texture of 2 meeples versus 3 meeples, I actually disagree with you slightly. I don't think that the advantage is that pronounced. I think it's much more pronounced if it's like 3 meeples versus 2 meeples, for example. But now, the one exception to that idea being, of course, that Cheng Feng Sai could choose to start fighting more for farms if they want to. I don't think that that's going to be relevant here because, as you pointed out, there's no great farms to really take advantage of.
I like the fact of putting a meeple on this long farm that kind of goes diagonally down the
Yeah,
board. I think
that's
but
six points.
if Chengfu Inside can do it, it just makes Muzzacello. It reduces the number of farm spaces Muzzacello has, and they kind of have to not just to sneak in and join it. They have to place 2 tiles. And you lose a bit of impetus there. So, from Chengfu Inside's point of view, I don't think it's a ridiculous thing to try and put a farmer on
No,
that farmland.
I agree with you. I want to draw your attention to the northern side of the board, just next to the road piece, right next to Cheng Feng
Oh,
Sai's.
Muzzacello drew that.
Oh, that's
That's the one they
fantastic
wanted.
from
Yeah,
Mosicello. That's
yeah.
massive. We've gone back to a pretty even game now.
I think so. Yeah.
And that's actually really big for Cheng Feng Sai as well. The piece that they just played, the one directly to the right of it, was played by Muzzacello to try to block. And now, oh wow, with the last two placements that Muzzacello has had and the return of those two abbeys, Muzzacello is very much still in it. It's those two meeples in hand matter a lot, as well as the fact that he drew an abbey, which right now is in the easy 8 points.
Yeah, I think Chengping Sai's got to the farmland we were talking about, and basically it's now worth 9 because this finished, and this is like to
Yes.
finish as well. So this farmland's potentially worth up to 12. This farmland's potentially worth up to 9, and Chengping Sai's both of them. So for Muzzacello to win the game, I think they have to either tie both or win one of those, and it's going to be a bit of a fight to do so.
How many tiles do we have left, Mr.
We have
Steve?
15 tiles left. They're playing. These guys are playing extremely fast. If you look at Muzzacello, they started with, was it 22 minutes, and he's got
Yes.
19 minutes left. He's played super fast.
The question is really up to Muzzacello now. What is the question being asked is, what are you going to do to overcome this deficit of farmlands? How are you going to respond? And looking at it now, to me it looks like there are two options. With so few tiles remaining, you can either try to make a blitz on castles. Much more reasonable, I think, would be to start competing in the farmer game. So I would be using these turns. I'd be looking for ways to place farmers and then link them up to the current farmlands. But that's not an easy proposition here because the roads are cutting off.
He's done that there, and basically now he's going to link up to this farm here.
Yeah.
Hopefully, but he's relying on specifically a curved road. It's one of the most frequent tiles in the game, I believe. The curved road.
He's got one right now. He's got one right now.
Oh yeah, so he pops that in the gap.
So he's doing exactly what I've asked him to. Not what I asked him to. What I thought that would happen, but he's still behind. So he's still behind the main farm from the top right hand corner of the board all the way to the center. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Mr. Steve.
So this,
and yeah, absolutely. So and here's the thing, right? All of the time that Muzzacello is spending trying to connect that farmland, Cheng Feng Sai is doing exactly that, patiently just grinding and getting away more points. The question of how to link up farmers is entirely on Muzzacello, and we've just seen them. They saw the board texture the same way that I did, and the best way that they saw to compete here is to try to outmuscle for the farmers.
Yeah, that's a good move actually. A counter.
That
So
is.
basically, you're
Why?
making
Can you tell
this.
us why?
Yeah, you're making this space harder to fill. To connect up to this farmland, you either need 2 tiles this way, which is a bit tough, or 1 tile here. Now the 1 tile here, there's much fewer options for that tile. Now these players will know exactly what tiles are left in the game, so they won't.
Absolutely.
They'll be aware of how what the odds are. Out of the 8 tiles left or so, how many of them will fit. But there won't be too many.
We're seeing some, massive. Cheng Feng side needs to do nothing more than what they currently are, which is like slowly dinking and diming away, taking a point here, taking 3 points there, because it really is all up to Muzzacello. This 14-point gap, I would say that this is a relatively low-scoring game as well, particularly because of the tensions in the center. Although, wow.
Yeah, that's actually a really good move because they get
Super strong.
Well, they get a meeple back so they can still fight for farmlands, but they also get 6 points for these 2 cities.
However, that farmer doesn't affect the top 3 farms,
It doesn't
the
now.
top 3 cities to the north of that, so that farmer is a lot less efficient. It's on the wrong side than Cheng Feng Sai's farmer. So really,
This is entirely wanted, right? So now Muzzacello has won the left-hand farm.
How many costs
is winning
is
it? It's only 5 now. 5 now. That's a mistake from Chengpin side because they're not because they're trying to steal the farm back. So far both farms are worth. This farm's worth 12 and Muzzacello's got it, but this farm's worth 15 and Chengpin side's got it. So I think for Muzzacello to win, they have to try and join this farm and hope that Chengpin side can't join back this farm.
Yes. As my father and my grandfather.
This is a good tile for it. This is a good tile for it. You can put it
Yes.
here.
Oh, this abbey to connect all the farmland. Yes.
I think that's a mistake. I think they're going to lose now.
Musicello, I'll tell you what, it's down to the wire here.
No, it's not. It's not. He's tied the farm back now.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
It's fast and furious at the final turns of this, and now we're going to go to the scoring. No, we're close to the scoring.
Yeah, we are scoring it now. It is scoring now, Chris. That was that fast. Would you like me to get in the view how many tiles are left for you?
I would love that. That would bring me nothing but joy.
Let's see if I can do that.
So I don't actually. I haven't been keeping track. Of course, the players will. If I were playing the game, I would. But the players would now know what the scores are before that final placement. Oh, thank you so much, Steve.
There we go. Done.
And it's going to come down to the wire here. I would say the Cheng Feng Sai is likely to pip Musicello here.
Yeah, I think he's won
by
about
less than 10 points.
I think it's about 10, but we'll see.
We'll see. And here we go.
Yeah,
I've never felt so tense.
It's 14 points, I think. Yeah, 14 points.
A fantastically played game by both players. A really great illustration of so many great points. I've said that before, but I'm going to say it again. I think the lesson here for our viewers at home is just as my father told me and my grandfather before him, that the only way to really succeed in life is to become a farmer. So get out there, start hoeing your gardens, start getting some seeds. No, I'm joking. It's a terrible joke. I'm not a father yet, but hopefully one day my dad jokes will allow me to be. So that's the end of round 6.
That was a fast game, actually. So we're gonna have a look. I'm gonna see if I can find a game that's still got a few turns to play. So we're gonna have a look at potentially one of the games. Yeah. So this game's got 15 tiles left, and this is between two people who are undefeated. So the Sporter and BB Costa have both won 5 out of 5. So the loser of this isn't out, but the winner gets through to the quarterfinals straight away. So whoever wins this match will be straight through to the quarterfinals. In fact, we're also going to get another person straight through to the quarterfinals from the match between Hognedge and Game Over. I really want to watch one of his games.
Game Over. I recognize Sporter's username from a couple of other tournaments that we've played. I believe that we saw them play in the King Domino tournament yesterday, as well as the Hive tournaments a little bit earlier in the weeks that I was commentating with a former world champion. I want to draw your attention, friends and family back home, that the scores are super tight. This is a really tight game, and let's have a look at the farm game. This is something which I would expect would happen more. We see the combination of that farmer and the abbey with the road that connects all the farms together that I mentioned earlier. We've got 4 green farmers. No, yeah, 3 green farmers.
This one's in his farm by himself. So 3 green farmers in the big farm versus 1 red. But
no.
Red's threatening another one here.
2 red.
And no, this one's not connected yet.
Oh, it's not connected, no.
So the red's threatening 2 more farmers to join the big farm, but that's only going to tie. So in theory, green's going to win the big farm with 12 tiles left, unless red can do something. And the big farms are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's worth 24 points.
That's a lot of points.
But that's the difference. That's the difference in score. So it's going to be close.
With the completion of that recent city, Sporter jumps ahead to a 25-point lead now. How many? We have 12 tiles remaining, so not that many turns left. Something like 7 turns left for both players. Ridiculous here. Okay, so we're playing from the green player's perspective because we're underdogs. We Australians love an underdog. Actually, everyone loves an underdog. Everyone loves a hot dog. Everyone loves an underdog. Okay,
Australians might love underdogs, but they're very good at everything.
They're very good at everything. So speaking from the green perspective, what are you looking to do here in order to overcome this 20-something point disadvantage?
You've got 3 meeples left, so I think you'd be looking to get some meeples. There's still 1 cathedral left or 1 abbey left, so in theory you'd be hoping you're the one to draw that because, like you say, a late abbey's often worth at least 6 points. There's often a place you can put it for 6 points. So I think you're looking for that. I think you're potentially looking to... Actually, that's a weird thing. So red's done something quite nice here. Can you see what red's played this tile here? Can you see what that does?
Does that connect the farm?
It does, which actually reduces green's score by 6. Because this farmer was scoring 6 by himself. Now this farmer's joining up to the other one. Means green's going to win the big farm, but it actually reduces green's score by 6 points, which is lovely. Lovely bit of tactics there.
Well, doesn't that farmer only affect those 2 cities anyway without the placement of that tile?
Yeah, but you score farmland. It's 3 points per city next to the farmland. So you treat each farmland separately.
Oh, of course,
so
yes.
the bottom farm would score these 2 for 6, and then the top farm would score these 2 for 6 as well. So you'd score these cities twice, one for the farm beneath it, and one for the farm above it.
Thank you for that
That's
nuance.
I believe that's a difference in how you score farms, and I think this is called international farming scoring. So that's that. Anyway, they're the rules we're playing by for this event. We're scoring.
Yes.
We're not scoring each city. We're scoring each farmland.
Yeah, so certainly the rules that I've played with and the ones that I'm familiar with are to score each city. So it's a lovely nuance of these rules, and it's a really important note for all of you out there who have aspirations to either play in our tournament or any other larger gaming tournaments. Please be aware of the very specific rules and how you can take advantage of your opponents there. Oh, that's massive for Sporter to take that Abbey. That's really nice.
Yeah, they're also placing it there to stop them blocking the city. So now, if they draw a semicircle, they'll be able to complete the city. So they place the Abbey. They place the Abbey there as a defensive move as well.
Really interesting placement by BB Costa, the green player, that to continue the investment, to use their. We both agreed that with this few tiles remaining, that BB Costa needed to start being more aggressive with their placement, and they've certainly agreed with us. They've chosen to make that investment by increasing that farm gain. So I believe that with the placement of BB Costa's last tile, which joins up those farmlands, BB Costa has uncontested free reign over all of those castles in the center, the massive big farm. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 castles currently, with the potential to grow. Although I don't think that with this many tiles remaining, it's not going to grow that much. But that's still 27 points that green will take. So this is still anyone's game here.
Yeah, I think red's just going to... It's just whether green's endgame scoring. Green's clearly going to have more endgame scoring. It's whether they can catch up to red's actual game point scoring.
Yes.
Realistically, red actually wants to place a tile here because that would reduce green's... would it reduce green's score? No, it would not. It would not.
No,
currently, these two are sharing the farms for 6 points currently.
Yes. Well, Sporter is in this. Both players with this many tiles remaining are in the dink and dive mode. They're going to try to take as many quick points as they possibly can to look for, to capitalize on, say, end roads. I don't see any really quick one-sided roads except for the one in the top left-hand corner. There are 2 roads in the top left-hand corner that you can do if you get an end road piece. Green, of course, doesn't actually have, with in the bottom left-hand corner of the board, BB Costa would have enjoyed finishing off that castle, but that of course is not possible here. They can simply use their last meeple. I doubt that they will. That tile can be used to capture 3 points total if you place it on the castle and take the castle piece with a shield on it on the left-hand side of the board, exactly just there. I imagine that they're going to be using this to potentially increase their own grassland, but I'm struggling to find a place that is beautiful, except for in the north left-hand side of the board, connected to their own farmer and their own abbey. But there's a weird place of how can we place this to only benefit us or benefit us more than our opponent? And it's difficult with this one tile placement. Where do you see, Steve? What are you seeing?
I think I'd probably add it to here and not place a meeple on it. And in theory, then potentially you can join them up later with a lucky tile on your next turn. So potentially add it here, or even here maybe. But if you add it here, then potentially if you draw the tile that connects them up, you're going to score all the points to it without wasting a meeple. Yeah,
and,
so they've done that.
Agrees with you. Yeah.
But this is bad because... Oh, hang on. Yeah, ignore me.
Wow. Strong.
Yeah, ignore me. Yeah, I think Sporter's won this. I think that's just too big a lead to catch up.
Yep, I think that BB Costa can count on the 27 points from farmers.
So they benefited from their last move now by gaining extra points.
It's too far behind. 43 points is too much.
I agree. There's one tile left, which means Sporter's going to get a move. Then they're each going to get one go. And BB Costa's already said good game, so I believe they know they've lost.
Yes. What are these countries that we see in the top?
I think it's Portugal and Russia. I think it's Portugal for Sporter and Russia for BB Costa.
Portugal and Russia. Shout out to our Portuguese and our Russian friends. Fantastic to have so much representation through the international community as we wrap up what has been another excellent game amongst these top level competitors here at the UK Carcassonne finals, UK Carcassonne championships, and we're about to see the final scoring happen right now. And I do believe that that the Sporter will be taking away the win in a fantastically played game. Congratulations, Sporter. Then, if we're not being a little bit premature on making it through to our finals. We'll certainly be seeing Sparta in the final playoffs because with this match they've clinched a record of 6 wins, and no matter what happens in the last round, they will go through to the finals. BB Costa, of course, is not knocked out. As long as BB Costa manages to win their last round, they will also have the potential to move through to the playoffs. But they're certainly in win or in mode.
Yeah, so you can see in the leaderboard here, the 2 players are Game Over and Sporter. Well, it's not Game Over for Game Over today.
I'm sorry.
Over. So I'm just going to refresh that so we can see what's happening. So here's all the games. There are still some games to go on this round. I'm just going to see how long it's going to be. Are there about? Yeah, there's still about 6 or 7 games left in this round. So do you mind, Chris, if I go and get myself a coffee just to keep my wit sharp?
You know what? I was just about to ask you for a break, but you asked first, and you are the senior.
So given I don't need to switch to anything for the moment, I can leave it too, and then you can go for a break whilst I fiddle with the next match.
That makes a lot of sense. Get out of here,
yeah,
Steve.
So I'll say I'm going to leave you with the X and Chris Fung, everyone. No, wrong way.
That's me. Friends and family over at the over at Board Game Arena. I want to take this moment now to shout out Board Game Arena. Thank you so much for allowing the Mind Sports Olympiad and here at the UK Games Expo our opportunity to use your software and to popularize and run our tournaments. It's been a fantastic experience for all of us through our tournaments. If you're a fan of board games out there, if you haven't yet signed up for Board Game Arena, it's completely free to do, and they have an excellent and extraordinary library of games that you can play with, all from the comfort of your own home, which is very useful now that we're in coronavirus lockdown. We very much recommend playing through Board Game Arena there. However, simply playing is not enough. If you want to get better, if you're passionate about fighting it out with some of the best players in the world, all hungry for a spot on the world stage, then please feel free to join in any number of the tournaments here at the Mind Sports Olympiad that we've got right from now until the end of August. So we'll end our festivities on August 30. So we still have an entire week left of fantastic games, including one of the most heralded games of the past decade, the game known as none other than Catan. We've got Catan happening later this afternoon, which I believe it starts at 4 o'clock. So just in a little while, let me get that information for you in just a little while. But Catan, this version of Catan will be called Catan Bullet, where all players have access to a time with a time clock, and if you do not finish your game actions within 90 seconds, I believe. Excuse me. You have a 160-second turn timer. In normal Catan, Bullet will use a 70-second timer. If you do not complete your game actions within 70 seconds, you lose your turn. So that puts a lot of pressure on trades, on negotiation, things which are certainly starting to appear as more in the metagame for our top tier players. Now, the tournament itself will begin. It's scheduled to begin at 5 o'clock for our check-in. Excuse me. We're starting the tournament this afternoon at 6 p.m. British Standard Time, which is in roughly 2 hours and 11 minutes. Check-in for that will open in about an hour, and it's actually quite a long game, a long tournament schedule. We've got 4 rounds total, and the winner of the 4th round, it's a Swiss format, the winner of the 4th round, which will be commentated by myself and either Hawkeye or Henk, two incredibly strong players, will win the Catan finals. And there's a $150. Actually, let me make sure that that's correct. I believe that there is a prize for our Catan Bullet tournament, which is kindly offered us by our good friends over at Catan Studio. A prize of 150 American dollars for Catan for Catan Shop. .com for first place and first place only. And there's a whole bunch of great merchandise over Catan Shop, including their games, their world-recognized games, as well as merchandise and swag and hats and things and all kinds of weird things in there. Great, fantastic. So we hope if Catan is your jam, which is likely because it's one of the best-selling games of the past decade, then please look for. I'm happy to look out for you over at the tournament standings as we begin that. And if you're interested in registering, msoworld.com, and we'll be streaming that. We'll be streaming that after the fact on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and all the rest of the social media platforms. For our friends out there in the internet, if you have comments, if you'd like to join in on the fun and talk to us, we are more than happy to read your comments. And let's actually check out what some of our friends have been saying below. Whoa! Our good friend George Cosman Bors has been really quite active on our chat. Thank you so much. This from George Cosman Bors. This is a great game, and this entire Olympiad is extraordinary. Thank you, guys. No, George, thank you, and thank you to all the rest of our friends who are making the tournament so fantastic by your involvement, either as players or as joining in our live stream. Something that is really cool. I don't have the access to change the graphics for you just yet, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about our live Pentamind standings. For those of you who aren't aware, the Pentamind World Championship is the most hotly contested tournament crown, really, around the world for the world's most well-rounded and most competitive board gamer. So that tournament is unique to the MSO tournaments. We have 90 different game tournaments across the month of August, and we keep track of every person's results through all of the tournaments that they play. And we will take your top 5 scores across all of your different tournaments, and depending on your result, give you a score for that tournament. And quite simply, the best 5 scores will win this crown. For the past 2 years running, it has been won by an extraordinary individual, a gentleman who I'm very proud of to say that is my friend, a man named Ankush Khandelwal, who is a Pot Limit Omaha specialist by day and a board game phenom by night. He's won it the past 2 years. He's won it 3 times total, and he's currently at the top of the standings for the Pentamind World Championship. And unless he is chased down by any other player, will walk away as one of very few people in the history of the world to win the Pentamind World Championship multiple times, let alone 3 times in a row. For those of you who don't know, Ankush, amongst his other accomplishments, happens to be on the United Kingdom international bridge team, and he was actually multi-tabling, playing bridge. He won the bridge tournament that we ended up playing, but he was multi-tabling and playing in the Catan base game at the same time, and that was just a couple of weeks ago. Ankush, of course, he's phenomenal, and he's going to be involved in a great deal of interviews, certainly moving forward, and is one of the pillars in our Mind Sports Olympiad tournament, and certainly one of the draws each year as people try to compete with Ankush and other people like him for the supremacy at the top of the world standings, who can stand at the top at the end of the day and say that they are the world's strongest board gamer for that year. Welcome back from your break there, Steve.
Yeah, we've got some interesting things here. Basically, what's going to happen is there are going to be there's a few five wins, 1 loss. There's 8 of them, and so it's on the assumption that they play each other. 4 of them are going to get to 6 points. So we're going to get 4 of these guys, and then we're also going to get both of these. So we're only actually going to have 6 people. I think the draws have knocked a few people out of contention. You can see that these 2 players with draws, in theory, one of them should have been in the mix, but because they drew with each other, they're both out of the mix because they're both since lost one. So we're actually only going to get a quarterfinal with 6 players, I believe. So I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work. What I believe is the top 2 people from Swiss will probably get by straight into the semi-finals, which is probably how Mike's going to run that.
So I believe that if there are 6 semifinalists for our playoffs, that won't change the number of rounds that are required in order to find a winner. But I believe that your option is indeed what Mike will end up enacting. But for the meantime, I'm going to take a small break, and I'll leave everyone out there in the world in the capable hands of Steve Raine, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. So what I'll do while we're waiting, I'll show you the tournament coming up. So basically, we're waiting on the next match, and if you go to msoworld.com in the website, in the search engine, msoworld.com, dead easy, you can go to register. You can find all the information about past winners and current Pentamind standings and things like that. Currently, it's down, but it should obviously be up by before we finish the stream. And you can see we've got this month-long calendar. So all the different events to enter. If you click on the event, it brings up a little description of what it is, how you need to register, what site it's been used on, and then an option to enter as an adult or a child. in this column here. You won't be able to see that on my screen, but you can see the drop-down menu. And you can see that it is a month-long. Some of the events are 2-day events. So, for example, Logic Puzzles is a 2-day event. I believe Acquire, wherever Acquire's gone, is a 2-day event, or that seems to have disappeared. Oh yeah, Acquire was a 2-day event. The Bridge was a 2-day event as well on the early on. And you can see we're down here on the penultimate Sunday. There is another Sunday next week. Penultimate Sunday, Carcassonne UK Championships, that's where we are. Takenoko is taking place at the same time on the same site. And the site's rules, you can't play 2 live games at once at the same time. So it's a bit annoying. If you're good at both of those things, you can only enter one. So what a lot of people have done is they've entered the UK Championship for Carcassonne, and if they haven't done so well at the start, they've dropped out and joined in Takenoko. We've got some of the other things as well. The Go 19 by 19, that's a huge board of Go, and they take a while, and I've seen some very good Go players. It's such a hard game to master. Lost Cities again, I believe that's also on Board Game Arena. Velitas, Anti-Chess on Arena, or Anti-Chess Arena, I don't exactly know what that is. But again, if you're interested in any of these games, you just click on them. Marco Polo Day 1, I believe that's also on Board Game Arena, and again, if you can click on that, there is a 2-day event again. So basically, those who do well on Day 1, we'll come back for Day 2 and do that sort of things. Twilight Struggle, that's on the Twilight Struggle app. And some of these games, if they're on different sites, you can multi-table. So you'll notice Chris was talking about Ankush multi-tabling. Not only to multi-table 2 difficult events to play one at a time anyway, but to win one and come like 8th on the other one is fantastic. Really, really good achievement. Circle of Life, that is an abstract game written by a newish designer. It's added to Board Game Arena. That's a lovely little, it's very thematic for an abstract game. So have a look at that. If you decide to want to play, do that. What we do ask, though, for all of the games you do play is that you make yourself aware of how the site runs it. So maybe go on the site, have a test, have a little test of the interface of the site and all that sort of stuff, and how it works and what all the different buttons do and how you do undos and all that sort of stuff before you play, just for the being polite to other players, so you're not kind of learning as you go on other things. But we're joined back with Chris. What we're going to do, Chris, we're not going to watch the match with the 2 6 hours. We're going to watch one of the other matches. So we're going to watch a match with Mars 15, the current world champion. Mars 15 is playing someone called Jackface. If we have a look at the standings, Mars 15, you can see, is somewhere.
I've just got a note on social media by a good friend's. I forgot their name actually. I looked quite quickly, but apparently my audio is much softer than yours, Steve. Could I ask you to
yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah, I will turn myself down a bit. I've turned myself down a bit.
Thank you so much.
I did fix it according to what it was yesterday, but apologies.
That's all right. That's okay.
Yeah. So we're going to watch Jackface versus Mars 15. So where have they gone? Am I being blind again? Yeah, Mars 15 is 1-5. Jackface is 1-5. We're going to watch this game. Mars 15, we've already seen. Current world champion, Raine from Romania, I believe. So we're going to switch over to that now. And here we go. We're going to live in 72 tiles. 69 tiles remain. So maybe the 70.
Nice. I'm being told by our good friends over in the comments section that that the BGA is that our stream is currently labeled as French, which is, I hope our good friends at BGA can fix that for us. But I suppose we should talk a little in a French accent, in terrible. If this angers you, if you are angry at our terrible French accent, please angry comments only in the comment section below.
Now, je ne sais pas.
So our good friend, Mars 15, Marion, our good friend Marion, if we were French, is fighting Jackface. Marion is playing the red pieces here, and we've got Jackface playing the black pieces. We've seen Marion, really interesting choice right off the bat, choosing to take this choosing to take the road instead of the farmer. That's the first interesting choice. And they're potentially opening themselves up to being to having that robber isolated until the very end of the game. I wonder whether that is a better choice than taking the risk of having a farmer isolated. Because certainly a farmer knows if you place a farmer this early, there's a potential, you know that you're not getting that back. There's still a potential that you might get this robber back. So maybe that was the original decision. Now Jackface has a much easier decision here. Do you claim the castle tile in the center? And potentially open yourself up to being blocked, or do you start your own castle? Either way, you're going to open yourself up to the potential of being blocked by Mars 15. So if
Yeah.
you claim this castle, that is.
It's not great. Basically, if you're going to start your own castle, you have to extend their road, so that's not a good
Yes,
option. And then the only other place you can put it is here. You can either put it here, face away from this road, but then
I would.
you're giving them a longer road to connect to and an end, or you face into their road, which is also bad because it makes your tile harder to do. I don't think there's any good options. I think personally, I would do the one that you agreed with. I would probably point the roads to the right and
Yep.
build the castle out. You are extending their road, but obviously a castle's worth more than a road. Oh, you keep making me say castle. I'm going to call it a city. A city's worth more than a road.
No, it's a castle. 100% it's a castle. And our good friend Jack Fassé. Jack Fassé coming from the United Kingdom. So we're rooting for you because this is our home. But I'm also rooting for Maz 15 because Marion is a world champion. We have to root for the world champion. Do we have a picture of Jack?
I'm just trying to find out. Just trying to see if I can work out who it is. Sometimes if you go into their profile, it tells you their name and their, who they are in real life and stuff. It doesn't on this particular case, but
Jack Face. Jack Face. I think it's worth noting. Jack Face is thinking quite a long time on this move. So I hope it's not a connection issue. I hope instead that they're deliberating on exactly what they want to do with this piece. But I have to imagine that because the decision isn't that complex, that it's something to do with connections. And Jack Face has done exactly what we presumed that they would. And Mars has this option now of connecting their robber and potentially starting a farm.
I think you could potentially go the other way and just make it harder to finish.
You could. Really interesting here. This is going to show us Mars's appetite for blocking as opposed to connecting their own road right now. I don't think they should be in any rush to connect their robber because there's so many pieces, especially this early in the game, that will get their robber back. I really like your suggestion here.
Yeah, I think so. Just make it hard because if we saw it in the game we just watched, where someone on their I've forgotten the name, the Taiwanese player, went early on in the game.
Tai. A good friend. How could you forget my comrade, my Taiwanese comrade, Mr. Cheng Feng Tai?
They just went city, city, city complete and scored 10 points. So I think you just got to stop that happening. Jack Face is lucky, drawn a tile straight away that fits it. And what Jack Face is going to be looking, you'll notice that in the games we've played, generally the big cities don't get completed. So what Jack Face will be looking to do is complete this as quick as they can, to be honest.
It's a race.
Mars is placing it here just so they can get around and block it. So in theory,
I have to say these early tile draws from Jack Face are really strong. Wow, choosing the road over the Abbey. Super interesting play.
That's a good piece for Mars to get because it makes their road score more than his.
Yeah, because the only reason that Jack Face wanted to do that was to share in the points, share in the long road score. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Share in the and Mars managed to foil them right away. I think we're going to end up seeing a heart shape here in our first city, and Jack Face has been drawing quite well. Of course, there are certainly going to be entire games where, because luck is a big part of it, where there's nothing you can do and your opponent is simply going to run you over. I wonder if that's going to be the case here because Mars hasn't had the option here to really contest Jack Face's city development or to really start their own. And it really is quite a telling thing that Jack Face was able to get the first Abbey piece, although they ended up choosing to use it as a road piece, as a normal road piece, as an everyday road piece.
I think you're absolutely right. This is the first city tile Mars has had. And I'm fully aware, especially in a 4-player game, it's so frustrating to draw road after road after road. Because in a 4-player game, you're just trying to maximise your own score rather than do people in. And so the roads are really bad. They're the weakest scoring tiles. And even in a 2-player game, if you draw 10, 15 more road tiles than your opponent, you're just not going to have those opportunities to score big.
Mars 15, true to form, has started a new castle towards the top with the intentions, if they're going to echo their previous form, with the intentions of trying to contest the big fat castle in the center of the board. So we'll see if Mars requires they can't do everything on their own. They need the tiles as well to cooperate. So Mars is now looking for a castle tile which will angle down, which will enable the connection towards the big castle, and whether or not they get that is completely up to chance. Of course, this is a hedging move, I believe. Mars saying that if we don't connect, then no one will. Jack Face going.
That's really good actually, because now it's still possible for Jack Face to complete, but it's now a bit more difficult for Mars to join up with them.
Yes, absolutely. Jackface playing really well, and you'll notice that this flurry of opening moves, it's a combination between aggression and defensive, getting points for myself and defending the potential for my opponent to score points. I think it's really, really telling. That Abbey play, I would never have made it personally. I would have gone for the Abbey point always, and a lot of other players would have agreed with me. Really interesting nuance here that that Jackface would go for the road instead of the Abbey. I think that that's an instructional moment. Please pay attention to it. Oh, these road pieces now, wow. We mentioned earlier on in the stream that roads are generally used as aggressive pieces to stop people from getting points, and we're seeing that tactic employed here wonderfully by both players.
Well, what you will see now is this road from Mars will never be finished.
Does that isolate? Is that true?
Yeah, because the only way to end a road with just a road end is a Abbey, and you can't put an Abbey in those spaces.
Is that true? Yes, I believe you're right. There's no. So it's only the starting tile which has.
And now I was going to say it was a race to see who could fill. Both tiles were fillable, but separately. Once one goes in, the other's impossible. And so whoever got their tile in first, in this case it was Jackface, they got their tile in first. And not only did they finish their city, they've killed 2 red meeples. So I think it's definitely swung in the favour of Jackface here.
Jackface, really, really enjoying that play, giving a heart out to all of our good friends and family out there in the world by completing that little city. The real metric, as you so happily point out, is the fact that Mars now has a couple of stranded meeple, and we're going to see that meeple disadvantage is going to add up as Jackface, I'm assuming, will use those additional meeple to contest for farms, to contest for cities.
Yeah, I think this potentially it's going to be hard for Mars to come back from this.
Even though it's only a 6-point deficit, Mars is Jackface is doing to Mars what we saw Mars do to Noah Concepcion earlier on in the Swiss rounds.
Fully agreed here. I think Mars has got more people on the board, so Jackface has got more. Jackface has got more points and more people in hand, so potentially more scoring opportunities.
Super interesting there that while on paper, Jackface, it looks like Jackface is giving a castle end to Mars. The point of that is the road that goes towards the right-hand side of that, as Jackface scores a nicely large road. Jackface is now looking for a road piece, a curved road piece, which is one of the most popular in the game, to curve towards that to stop Mars's new city from being developed.
Yeah, I mean, this city won't finish. We know this won't. So this won't finish. It's just about cutting off the expansion for it, really.
Yes. Yep. That Abbey placement, really good for Mars.
Yeah, but you'll notice again, they did what we wouldn't do, Chris. They didn't put a person on the Abbey.
Took the road.
Yeah, they did. The road. Meeple preservation seems a much more important thing in a 2-player game.
Yes, and that also is... That's also very illustrative and something that I'm going to take away in my games. Normally, it's considered, a slam dunk to go for these 9 points on offer potentially with the Abbeys. But you should also consider the potential of getting these quick roads. And that means that you'll have more meeple in hand to do exactly what is happening in the top right-hand corner with Jackface. Fight for cities, fight for farms. Because really, you don't need that many meeples in hand to score quick castles. You don't need many meeples in hand to score quick roads. What you do need meeples in hand for are to contest with these farms once the farms have been developed. And that's actually a concept which I think is really important, that until the farms are set, until it's clear where the main farms are, both players are reluctant to put their farmers down.
Yeah, I think this is. It looks like the best farm will be near the top. But you'll notice that if you put a farmer here, so if you put a farm on this tile, you're probably not going to. But the farm not only gets these that are potentially going to go, it goes all the way around and gets this one as well.
Yes.
So I think a farm at this point is good. If you could put a farmer on this tile, is he going to do it? He
will. I think it's a very attractive option. I'll be interested if he doesn't.
Yeah.
There we go.
Absolutely fine. You're absolutely right there, Chris. Well spotted. And now what you want to do is you want to put something here, because this is another easy space to put a farmer that isn't connected. So you really want to plug this gap up, especially from Mars' point of view, because then it makes it hard for Jackface to get an easy join on the farm you've got.
You'll notice that we very much have this concept of I've got a castle, you've got a castle. There was a little bit of a tussle for castles before, but this is a very different board state because of the tiles drawn. I want to note that the scores right now are neck and neck. It's within a couple of points. The advantages are just in the meeples in hand. We're firmly in the mid game, and I would certainly expect more of the battle around farmers, more of a battle around developing castles, starting to grow from now. So here we've got Jackface here with an end piece for a castle.
Yeah,
interesting here if they choose to take the quick 4 points or if they choose to start contesting.
Yeah, they're going to go farm.
There we go. There we go. I think that's the decision point here for Jackface, whether they contest the farms or whether they contest the castles. And it'll depend a lot on the texture of the tiles drawn by Jackface. Same thing for Mars now.
Yeah, so this is another spot.
Here we go.
So basically, if this is a really good spot for an abbey. A really good spot, and the abbey will join these two together with the red meeple. So currently, red's got the big farm, and black and red are threatening to join in on it. And I think it'd be really hard to pass up an abbey and put it in this space. But black won't put an abbey there because it helps red too much.
Interesting. Yeah. Yes. Well, yes. It would help red more than black here because black would. Well, would it? Is that clear? It depends on whether or not black wants to join up those farmers, because black could use that abbey later on, depending on the texture, to get more farmers. I want to draw attention to this tussle in the top to the north hand side of the board. The tile placed just by Mars there was very fortuitous. Jackface's previous move, the castle towards the north hand side of the board, had multi-functionality. It could either, depending on the tiles drawn by Jack, either have let Jack try to steal Mars's castle. It could also have just allowed Jack to take their own castle towards the north. So it was a multi-purpose move there. Mars's move recently, of course, finishing that castle, preventing any such shenanigans because they simply take the points. And now we see Mars in the lead.
I think you put the road here. Mars has got a curved road, so if you put the road here, it makes it
difficult to finish. Strands that guy.
Potentially, yeah.
That's yep, and that would certainly be in that would be on brand.
I actually think that one's better because then there's only one tile that fits there instead of two.
That placement of that tile would certainly be on brand for Mars.
Yeah.
So we'll see how whether Mars agrees with you and which orientation that road will be placed. But I can't imagine that Mars will not be seeing this option to block. It may simply be a question of if there is a better blocking move available. And I don't really see one on this board texture. So I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's a move because now there's only one tile. Yeah, so now there's only one tile. It's the semicircle with a curved off.
Yes.
If you put it the other way around, there'd be the semicircle all the way across, and then the semicircle with the road crossing. There'll be two different tiles that could go there. So I think that's the best way around. And I think the reason and the delay is that Mars is probably spotting and going around the board and counting the ones that have already come out.
Yes.
And just to see which is more likely to come.
Yep, as expected of a world champion. Later on, after the finals, we'll hope to have a winners interview. We'll talk to them about their capacity for tile placement. Perhaps it'll be Mars. Perhaps it could be any number of people. If you have questions that you'd like to chuck to the eventual winner of our event today, the Carcassonne UK Championships, which might be won by a non-UK resident, which would be kind of fun, you know. I wonder what they're going to do if that happens.
I don't think. I mean, I think a lot of foreign people come to the expo. The expo is usually where this is played. The board game expo. It's one of the biggest in the world. I think it's third or fourth biggest in the world, behind Gen Con and Essen. So something like that in terms of number of footfalls. So I think a lot of people from overseas come to the expo, and some people will come just for the chance to play Carcassonne because it's such a fantastic game.
It is a fantastic game. And of course, shout out to all of our friends at Board Game Arena. If you're interested in playing Carcassonne, if this UI looks a little bit special to you, then I certainly recommend you joining the fun. Create a free account on Board Game Arena and have a crack with your friends and family. Invite people from all over the world, play with strangers, or fight it out with your rivals. Flip tables, get angry. I want to really draw attention to the point score here. We're within 6 points of one another, which is nothing at this level of the game. 23 tiles remaining and everything yet to play for. I think the game is going to revolve around these farmers. Currently, it looks like red has the advantage here, with two farmers accessing these large central farms, and with black, our good friend Jack Face, with only one farmer in the center.
Yeah, so the farm isn't connected yet necessarily. So basically,
I believe they will be, because there are only, how
the
many Abbey tiles have come out already? There are 4 total.
there are six total, but there is 4
Excuse
of the
me.
blank. There's 4 blank ones. So the 2 with roads have already come out, and there's 3 more of this type.
So there is a high likelihood that those farmers will end up fighting it out.
Yeah. Currently, black and red are sharing the bottom half of it, and red's got the top bit. And if they join up, red will take the whole lot. So I think black's potentially looking to get another farmer joined up to the bottom half. I don't know exactly where you'd be looking to do that.
Interesting here that Mars is taking a pause to think. I hope it's not I hope it's not difficulties. Oh, okay. So we're playing Mars. Mars, rather than taking castle pieces or unclaiming or taking a castle, is choosing to fight for the farmers. And wow, super strong play there. Scoring 2 abbeys immediately. An 18-point boost.
Yeah, 18-point boost, but you've lost the farm.
You have.
So I think it's probably worth it to gain 9 points, get a meeple back, and lose the farm. And it's a farm that you can potentially try and join up later. So it's not super bad.
It'll be interesting to see. Jackface has the 4 meeples in hand. It'll be interesting to see whether Jackface invests those meeples to contest the massive farms in the center, which really, I mean, we say massive farms, but really it's only 12, potentially 15 points with those completed cities in the center. 15 points, though, is still reasonable, right? And all it takes is 1 more joined farmer in order to take those points away from your opponents and even them out to share those points.
There's a potential, yeah. So they're going to score points. There was a potential.
A lot of abbeys.
There was a potential to put it. What you really want is something like a road piece, like a straight road piece, and put a farmer underneath it. You want to put it down here so that you can wrap round and join the farm. There's not too many good spots for Jackface to join up with this big farm. I'm struggling to see them, Chris. Can you see any? Actually, there is another spot here. So basically,
yes.
You can get a city piece here and put the farm on the grassland and then join around this way.
Yes, certainly. But I agree with your assessment. It looks pretty difficult. I'd look at the southern side of the board. Perhaps the very south part, the very south. That's an unclaimed farm that could be very easily attached.
Yeah, so I think
with this road placement.
So Chris is thinking potentially if you can get a meeple on this bit of grass and then connect it round. So if you, so he can do it with the tile he's got now if he wants to.
Well, this is Mars's turn. This is Jackface's turn now.
Jackface can extend this bit, put a meeple on the right hand side of the grass.
Yep.
And hope to connect it round. Do you think that's what he'd do?
It would be it's interesting now because he's got a choice between the castle game or the farm game. I think that I think quite clearly the tensions are about this farm game. So either this move or the next couple, I would certainly expect Jack to invest back into the farm game to get to fight for these 15 points, because I think that's better than trying to find those 15 points on your own. Still, though, there are like 10 moves remaining for both players, so still there's a little bit of wriggle room. I wonder if Jackface will agree with us. This next tile placement will be telling whether or not they're going to claim an unclaimed castle or whether they're going to go for the farming game.
They could put a farmer here, actually. Yeah, that's another possibility.
Yeah, there we go.
So they were potentially counting how many straight roads and how many curved roads are left and thinking what they're more likely to draw.
I think that's exactly what Jackface would be doing. You'll notice that both players are really highly ranked on Board Game Arena, so their rankings there will give us some indication of how much they've been playing the game and to how high a level on Board Game Arena. So I think that it's really, really important for everyone back home to notice that the mid to end game really has revolved around these farmers for a lot of these high level players.
I will. We've got a result from our 6-0 game. So basically, Sport R was playing game over, and Sport R won, which means Sport R goes into our knockout stages as the top seed. And game over is currently second, although there'll be some tiebreak issues coming out of it, so we don't know whether they'll finish the Swiss in second place necessarily.
I imagine that the tiebreakers are going to matter in terms of seeding and in terms of getting a bye. So congratulations to Sporta, but also to our second place. Sorry, who was our second place?
It's game over.
Game over.
They might not finish second, but they're currently second.
They're currently in second place, but they're guaranteed to be in the playoffs. So congratulations to both of those players.
They're both qualified. So well done, guys.
For those of you at home who might be wanting a very quick and easy way of expanding the fun of your games, I very much recommend you using stupid voices as much as you possibly can, even to the extent of characterizing each of your meeples and giving them strange accents. There's no such thing as too silly a voice. And Mars scoring a city quite quickly, injecting some much needed life into their point score. There's only a 6 point differentiation. It's gonna come down to these farmers. Currently in the center, we've got two black farmers against two red farmers. And no, I'm not being racist. Those are just
that one's not connected yet.
It will be though, so
Yeah,
I'm counting it in the context.
Probably.
Two black versus two red farmers. It's much like many world wars we've fought before.
But the issue is that this third red farmer can join in.
Yes, so if that does join in, it'll be three red farmers versus two black.
Yeah.
I can't. Look, Jackface has already invested two meeple, and he's got and they have. Excuse me, Jackface may not be a man. Jackface has two meeples in hand. I got to expect Jackface is not done fighting yet, and they've got the meeples in hand to do so.
Yeah, I fully agree with you there. This tile doesn't help necessarily.
No, I don't think it does. But the potential to join up the farms, I think, lies in the south end side of the board, or towards the. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, actually, you could place this here.
North as well. Yes, that's true.
You could place it here and put a farmer above it.
Is that
basically,
true? No, you can't.
You can. You
because it's already connected.
It's not
connected all the way through.
No, you need this bit. You put it above the city, and put it on the grass bit. It's by itself.
Oh, got you. I'm with you. Yes, I'm with you now. Yes.
It's hard to describe. I will say that Chris has done a fantastic job because I'm the one with a mouse and I'm the one that can point, and he can't point. He's having to graphically describe using his excellent vocabulary where he's talking about. So what I'm talking about is where my mouse is hovering. If you put the city piece here and then a farmer above it, you're threatening to come round. The issue is red's ahead. Red's already got 2-1 on the farm itself. Black's got to connect this one and then potentially another one up. So, although the scores are close, and I think Black's got more scoring that isn't farmers, Black's got this abbey and this road versus Red's abbey. I know, actually, Red's got a fair bit as well. Red's got this city that isn't finished and this road that's not finished. So I think it's close. I think it's all going to depend. If one person can win the farm, they'll win the game.
It's all about dem farms, no castles. I promise you here that so many castles have been foregone to start or to take castle points. It's all we're going to see a really tight tussle here.
They've chosen not to contest the farm. I think.
Oh,
I don't know. He thought about that for a long time. I don't know. I don't know whether that's correct.
We will see whether or not Jack has simply chosen to concede the farms in the center, whether or not that's what they've chosen to do, or whether they're going to continue the investment later on. But that's a very interesting placement, and every tile of the last as we head into the finals is going to matter a great deal. Mars with this road piece. The interesting thing is Jack doesn't have very many scoring tiles that he's not looking to complete castles. He's not looking to complete abbeys. So the utility of this straight road piece is only in the farm game. So it'll be very interesting to see how Mars chooses to either prevent the connections of farms.
I think I'd place it here, which stops you trying to do what I said earlier and build a farm round. I think I'd place it here.
Yeah. That's actually that's a good placement. I think Mars, that's the consideration here. Is there another place that they could place it, which would provide the greatest obstacle for Black to connect up their farmers and to cement this farm lead in the center? I think that's certainly the thought process here. I do not think that Mars will be at all interested in taking the road points, the 4 easy road points.
I think if there was a road that was 4 or 5 long, you might consider it. But with 13 tiles left, it's probably a mistake.
No, there's too much other scoring potential, like quick and easy cities that you might need the meeple for. It's giving up too much, I think, in order to for 4 points.
We have another person into the quarterfinals, which is Stephen Chang TW. They've made it. They've gone there with 6-1. I assume so. They've spelt Stephen. They've spelt Stephen wrong. They've spelt it with a V. A joke. Mine's a PH. But Stephen Chang TW is made to the quarterfinals, so we'll catch up exactly who that is in a bit. But well done, Stephen. I will say also the two people who drew have gone 5 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw. And if they hadn't drawn, one of them would make it through. But I think as it stands, I think they're both going to miss out. But we'll see exactly what happens at the end of this.
No, it's actually it's a hard cutoff. There's no the tournament rules specifically say you need a record of 6 wins and 1 loss or better. So they're unfortunately they are out despite an incredibly strong showing in a ridiculously strong field. We've got as we previously mentioned, we've got world champions, we've got junior Mind Sports Olympiad champions, we've got players who've played Carcassonne at a really, really high level for a very long time, all competing for this, and all for our enjoyment. This kind of feels like the modern day, more civilized version of the Colosseum, the gladiatorial battles in the Colosseum. Certainly something which comes to my mind when I think of the Mind Sports Olympiad every day. Okay, so after a long deliberation.
Yeah, so they scored 3 points, but they are connecting Jack Face's farmer. So that was their consideration.
Opposite. That's completely opposite to what I thought that they would do.
Yeah, they're just hoping to beat them on the farm and just score 3 points.
Just taking quick points. Maybe the decision for Mars is, you know what? I'm already winning on the farmers, so it's on Jackface to do something. I'll respond if they respond.
They're not winning anymore. They're tied.
Oh,
they're tied. But Mars has got the opportunity to add this farmer. They've in the big farm. They've both got 2 now. So I think Mars is looking to connect this, and maybe he was counting how many curved tiles there are left.
Certainly. Great insight there. And certainly if we were playing the game, that's certainly what we would be thinking of ourselves. But as we are not, and as we are not these world caliber players, I'm certain that is exactly what they would be thinking of. If you're looking to compete at these high levels as well, then I certainly recommend you researching the Carcassonne tile list. There are only 72 to memorize. I certainly haven't gone to the trouble of doing so because because I don't want to. But I had the joy of having Martin Herbermagi to commentate a previous iteration of this Catan tournament earlier through the schedule. Martin, of course, winning the Carcassonne Olympiad multiple times previously, and he certainly has. Although not in this tournament, I think he's playing something else. He certainly has memorized, and other players of his ilk have memorized the tile list. Certainly one of the buy-ins for Carcassonne if you want to play at these nose-bleedingly high levels.
So this is one of the tiles that Mars needs to connect this. So at the moment, this won't connect this for Mars, so Jackface will be looking to place it. Also, we have another player, a recurring friend who I forgot the name of. Cheng Feng Tsai has made the quarterfinals. So Cheng Feng Tsai is our 4th quarterfinalist.
We have 2 Taiwanese players.
Yeah, the winner. Well, I assumed Stephen Chang is Taiwanese, but we've also got the winner of this match, and then I think one other player is going to come through as well.
For those of you who don't know, the National Day of Taiwan, I hope I get this right, I believe is the 10th of October, which happens to be my birthday. I hope that I get that right. Taiwan National Day. Friend Google, come to my rescue. Of course, my internet decides now to be yes, I'm absolutely right. Taiwan National Day of the Republic of no. It's the National Day of the Republic of China, which we will talk about a little bit later. As we dive straight into this game, dive right back into this game, Jackface choosing to use their final meeple. Interesting, yes. They've chosen to continue the contestation of the farm battle.
I think if they tie farms, Jack's got a chance.
It is going to come down to the wire.
So I think Mars really needs to connect to this farm, because if Jack can do it and Mars can't, then Jack wins. So it all comes down to the farm. If the farm is tied, I'm not sure who's going to win, because I'd have to sit there and count the points. I'm not sure anyone's clearly ahead. So if the farm ties...
7-point differential on the board, but it's much more complicated than that, and it will come down to the very difficult situation related to these farmers.
Wow. That was an opportunity to connect the farms up. But I suppose this top farmer's scoring you 9 as is.
Doesn't Red already, without further development, Red already has an outmuscle of Black of 3 farmers to 2?
No, because this isn't connected.
Excuse me, you're correct, I'm wrong. Excuse me.
Oh, wow, what a tile to draw.
Big tile.
What a tile.
Wow, Mars taking the lead by 5 points here. Jackface really, really needing to connect those farmers through. Yeah. And with few tiles, only 3 plays remaining. Certainly this tile won't do it.
Well, this might. If you can place one here, you
Yeah,
can
but
now
that tile
join
on
in.
its own won't.
No, well, they
It
will not. No,
needs another placement. Yeah. So we're
that's
seeing a
that's
really.
that's the tile Jackface needs to put
Remind me,
here.
please, Steve. Both players are currently on a 5-1, so one
Yeah,
player will make it, one player won't. So we're
correct.
playing for all the marbles. This is it's actually a thrilling board state.
Yeah, this is an actual winning in. So actual winning in. So
Coming
wherever.
down to the final few placements
Yeah,
here, Mars has the straight road with the city ending.
yeah,
No, I just take the 4 points here as Mars.
yeah. But you're giving 3 points to black.
You certainly are, but net you advance your cause by 1 point.
You
You
do.
get 4 points. They get
You
three
do.
points, right? Here, Jackface. Ooh, is that what they were looking for?
No,
No,
that's
it
what
wasn't.
that's what Mars wants.
Could they have? Yes, excuse me. Yes, Mars wanted that one. I don't think this helps Mars connect
Yeah, well,
through
I think
either.
maybe you just. Yeah, he's
4
gonna he's
points.
gonna you're gonna
Just get
gain a
4
point
points.
again. He's gonna gain it. Well,
I
gaining one.
With this texture, it's a standoff. Two farmers to two farmers in the
So
center.
Jackface can't connect his farmers. This is the very last tile. I've got no tiles left. So Jackface can't connect his farmers. And then Mars's last tile, they can't connect theirs. So I think actually, with Mars
It's a
completed
wash.
Mars completed this city right near the end. I think that might have swung it for them because I think the big farms are tie now.
Yes, I believe so. I believe the big farms in the center are tied two farmers to two farmers. But
Yeah,
that's really telling. Nicely
yeah.
done, Mars.
They get another 6 here. So I think Mars is
Yes,
going to
yeah.
win it. We're gonna stay with it until we see the final scores. But we think with our expert commentator's eye that we think Mars has just pipped this.
Really, really tight though. I think my prediction is going to be a win by less than 10 points. So we'll see how close we are to that prediction. Of course, we weren't considering the abbeys as well. We were just thinking about the farmers.
Oh, did Black win the farm? Did Black
How?
win the farm?
How?
I don't know. No, he didn't. No, they tied.
No, I think they tied the farms in the
Yeah,
center.
they did.
And I think they also tied the farms in the north.
Yeah.
Yep, and the ones on the
Yeah.
east as well.
So 19-point win.
Cow.
19
Okay, so I was
point
completely
win.
wrong. However, really well played by both Marsface and Jack. Marsface, world championship player. No, what Marsface? Mars 15.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Mars facing Jack 15. It was a great match.
Are they both Jack 15?
No, they're not.
No, it's Jackface and
You-
Mars 15. You're portmanteauing their names as well. Come on, man. Really well played by Jackface, a representative from the United Kingdom. I was really impressed by your play, and I thought that it was really worthy of getting into the playoffs. Unfortunately, the tiles didn't work out for you this time. However, I, for one, am looking forward to watching out for your name either in Carcassonne tournaments moving forward here in the United Kingdom or through the rest of our Mind Sports Olympiad tournament as we head into our final week. Jackface, well done to you. Shout out to you out there. Mars 15, thank you, Marion, for showing us the power of your Carcassonne.
So we're gonna look at if we can have a look. So there's 2 more games that are going to get members into the knockouts. I think my maths is wrong. I think we're going to get 7 people in the knockouts, which means that Sport R will get a bye to the semi-finals.
Yes.
This is between BB Costa and Hognedge. Now, we've seen Hognedge a few times. I think we've seen the end of one of BB Costa's matches. They are both 5 wins and 1 loss, and there's one of the matches still be played, so we're going to go over to that after this one's done. This is the match that's closer to finish. It looks like, from the scores, Chris, a clear win to Hognedge. Can you say anything to change our minds?
It's certainly, like, on first glance, it looks like BB Costa is more heavily invested in the farmers than Hognedge is. So I see 2 farmers here, which are affecting the large farmlands. 2 farmers for green, move your cursor, and 1 farmer in the middle for red. There are 2 farmers in the middle for red. Excuse me. I believe that the farms are a big wash in the center, with red wanting to connect that farmer that they've just placed.
I think
it looks like a tie.
Red's won the farm, haven't they?
No, 2-2.
Red's got 2-1. This isn't connected.
Excuse me, it's not connected. You're right. Yes, it looks like.
I think Red's
winning.
Yeah, so I think that's a win to Hognedge. So if that's wrong, apologies. But what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at the match that's got a bit more play to it between StatMat and Paulie. StatMat and Paulie are playing. They've got 14 tiles left, and you can see from the scores this is a much closer match. So it looks like Hognedge is going to join the other quarterfinalists that we've got. So well done,
really
Hognedge.
tight.
Yeah, and this match is scores-wise a lot closer. How do we think it looks?
Well, the player colors immediately are red and yellow, red and yellow, red and yellow. You don't get that musical reference, do you, Mr. Steve?
I do not know.
You don't? All right. Well, to the 5 people out there on the internet who did, congratulations to you. A lot of really low scoring game. And low scoring because it looks like both players have spent a lot of time competing over castles. And I think that's one of the delineators that we're going to see right at the start. If one or both players choose to fight over the castles in the center, you're going to end up with a lower scoring game to begin with. And it looks like StatMat, a yellow player, a bumblebee friend, has won both of the castle fights. That's bad news bears for Paulie, because I'm looking for redeeming features of Paulie's play, and all I see is that they've got that farmer, that one massively powerful farmer, the king boss farmer, who is uncontestedly supplying food to everybody there. That's the Don Corleone farmer, I reckon.
Yeah.
That's Al Pacino.
The issue with that farmer is, as a lot of the other games we've seen, farmers have been scoring nearly 30 points. It's only scoring 9. So this field in the middle, although it's the biggest field in the game, it's only scoring 9. Because they've spent so long fighting and building these cities, they've actually not created lots of these little smaller ones, which are what scores the farms. So what you'll find is, although Paulie's winning the farm, there's no need for StatMat to try and fight it. StatMat can just maybe get this farm here and get 6 points. So StatMat doesn't need to fight Paulie for that farm there. They can just try and join on one of the little farms around the edge, because no single farm is going to be like game changing as opposed to some of the other games we've seen.
With 6 tiles left to go, and having lost both of the major castles in the towards the east-hand side of the board, Paulie has a big deficit to overcome, which they've managed to just do a great job of by completing that castle in the northeastern side of the board. So the problem though is that the problem for Paulie is that StatMat has this abbey in the center of the board, and has not yet scored these large castles, which is, let's count that really quickly. That's 13 points for the first castle, and we've got about 10 points for the other castle.
Yeah, 9. There is a redeeming feature, so it's 13 and 9, so 22. There is a redeeming feature that this tile isn't that rare. It's basically a duplicate of this tile.
Yes.
So I don't know how many of them in the game. I will just check for you exactly how many of those are in the game. There are 5 in the game, and I'm just going to count how many are left. 1, 2, 3, 4. There is 1 left. So there is a possibility for Paulie, and potentially, like we were saying earlier, sometimes you're like, what tile will get Paulie out of this? Well, I think joining this castle up to deprive yellow of 9 points seems like a good thing.
Certainly. There are 2 really interesting points here. Number 1, Paulie has at least, with the unfinished castles that we just counted, that's 29 points for yellow. With the 8 points of that abbey, that uncompleted abbey in the center, that's another 8 points. That's 37 points that Paulie needs to account for on the board that they don't have. So that's point number 1. How is Paulie going to do that with only like 4 turns remaining, 4.5 turns remaining? The other really interesting point, one way of doing that really quite quickly is to do exactly as you just pointed out, which is to connect that southern castle up to kind of even out at least those 10 points, but you still have another 20 odd, nearly 30 points to make up.
Yeah.
Something that's really, really curious here, right, is the south that castle there was unclaimed. That was exactly what I was going to draw your attention to. That's a good 8 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Excuse me. That's a good 6 points that anyone could have claimed. Of course, it doesn't come without a cost. StatMat has to play their final meeple in order to do it. The one redeeming feature is that Paulie's got 2 meeples remaining to either farm or to contest the castles, but you don't have a lot of time, Paulie. You've got 4 more moves remaining.
I don't think it's impossible. I think there should be a farmer. Oh, he didn't do it. I thought you should play a farmer there.
30 points.
Yeah,
20 points of discrepancy.
Yeah, well, I think what you're aiming to is join these up to reduce the score by 9. Get a farmer in this region here for 6, and then maybe get the last abbey. There's 1 more abbey to come, so the last abbey will be 6 or 7 points, depending on where you put it.
No matter how you cut it, there's still a 30-point discrepancy that StatMat has on the board that Paulie needs to make up, and I just don't see it happening easily.
I think mathematically it's possible. I think they need a perfect draw from here on out, though.
Yes, you may be right. I want to draw our attention to Paulie's flag. Where do you recognize that country? Let's play Who's That Flag? What's that nation? Is that Iran?
Is that the Czech Republic?
Well, I don't know. Let's find out.
Czech Republic.
Oh, Steve, we should play a drinking game or something. But you're on fire. The Czech Republic.
Yeah, I'm not drinking at the moment. I've not been drinking since, well, for quite a while, to be honest. But
Neither do I actually. So we'll have to
uh,
drink, I don't know, water or
water,
apple juice
yeah.
or something.
Oh, I'd hate to lose that.
We'll certainly take a lot more breaks. So we currently have that farming area in the northern left hand side, the top left hand side of the board, currently worth 9 points and counting.
Yeah,
StatMat needs to do nothing else but dink and dive now. They just
yeah.
have to just keep adding little
This
points to their score. It's on Paulie.
this is a bad tile for Paulie. I think Paulie realistically needs the tile that fills that gap
Yeah.
and Farmer and the Abbey to have a chance. And I don't think there's enough tiles left now.
No, I think it may, with the risk of sounding premature, which is not something to be afraid of, men out there. With the risk of sounding premature, I think StatMat has won this one, particularly
Yeah.
with only 2 tiles remaining.
I'm just going to confirm that, yeah, Hognedge did win that game. So we've got
Congratulations,
our
Hognedge.
quarterfinalists, Sportar undefeated, and then Stephen Chang, TW, Hognedge, Cheng Feng Tsai, Game Over, Mars 15, and then the winner of this match, which will make it 7 players.
Extraordinary. A really well contested tournament so far. I've really quite enjoyed the high level of play, particularly with this evolving conversation of do you play in Carcassonne? Do you play on attack to gain more points, or do you play on defense to stop your opponent from scoring points? And certainly in the two-player game, we've learned, and this is something that's quite common in Euro games in general. We've learned that that there's a lot of potential for a lot of aggression, even though in a game like this, the mechanics don't actively allow you to fight your opponent's pieces. The fighting happens nonetheless, and it is a competition for resources. In this case, points and territory. Super interesting to me. Paulie, 2 places left. You better place these meeple now. Do or die. No reason not to place a meeple with your final 2 placements. No reason not to take the farmer there. Good, 9 points there. And StatMat. Well, just I would just add to your large. What would you say that's a boomerang? Is that a boomerang shaped castle or a pickaxe?
This one here.
No, towards the bottom left hand, the south end of the board.
Oh, this one. Yeah, pickaxe. I like pickaxe.
Or
Yeah,
the letter
pickaxe is
T,
good.
Ice T. Shout out to Ice T.
Like a calligraphy T. If you get to the
A
bottom.
calligraphy T.
So Paulie's taken the farmer that we thought they would have taken a couple of turns earlier.
Uh huh.
Is this tile still left? I'm not sure it is. I think this is Paulie's.
No. It's no. We have one final tile left, and it's a double.
Okay.
It's double castle end. There's no quick castles that you can get.
Yeah.
Why not just add 1 point to yourself? And that's
Yeah,
exactly
you get to
what
put a
Paulie's
meeple on the other half as well if you want to.
You should. You should. You certainly should to get an extra point. But yeah, it's all over by the shouting.
I think that's a mistake. I think you could have put it up here and got 3 points for the farm instead of 2 points. I think if you put it here and get just this farm here.
I think you're right. Yep.
Yeah.
But I think it doesn't matter that much because Paulie saw the writing on the wall.
I think
And
so.
there's certainly a point where you give up mentally, where you stop competing, and there's no harm at all in Paulie having chosen not to think through the most optimal placement there, because I think we're going to see a win by at least 30 points.
I don't think so. I think there's 18 points coming from farms. So
Excuse
it's going to
me?
be about 13. Did you say 30? It's 13 points win, I think.
I said 30, but I think I'm wrong. I think it's close. It's going to be close to 13.
Yeah.
Oh, not too terrible. 23.
Yeah.
23.
Not
Excuse
too
me,
bad.
13.
13, yeah.
Do maths, Chris. It's a good thing I'm not a maths teacher, right?
Yeah.
Really well played by StatMat. The very first time we've seen we've seen a UK player win their match. So maybe there's a little bit of a hometown curse there. We hope that we don't infect you, StatMat, and we hope that we get to see a number of excellent games played by you in our playoffs, which are just around the corner. So how many players? Can you tell us a little bit more about the tournament structure, Steve? What is the playoff situation going to look like?
So
for our friends at home?
I believe what happened is that they wanted a format for the UK Championships where if you had an early loss, you still had a chance to do well in the event. And so that's what they've come up with. But what they didn't want to do is make it like 11, 12 rounds long. because that will take up the whole day. So for the people who are doing quite well, they've basically said, okay, from this point onwards, only the people who've lost one or fewer matches can continue, and they're going to continue in like a playoff, a knockout situation. So with the number of entrants, we're expecting 7 or 8 players. We've got 7 players through to the knockout stages, and the way that we're going to work it is a Sport R, you can see at the top of our leaderboard there, is going to be seeded. Because 7 players in a knockout means that the 8th player in that quarter-final doesn't turn up. Sport R will play that missing player and move straight to the semi-finals. The other 6 players will play in a single match elimination, and I believe, I'm not quite sure if this is true, I think I'm going to have to check the rules, I believe the person finished higher in the Swiss gets to decide whether they go first or second.
I believe that is true.
I believe that's true, so we'll have to see exactly. Well, it could be part of the tournament rules, but I'm not sure how easy that is to do on Board Game Arena, so we will see exactly how that works.
With the interfaces, absolutely. Let me check to see what they should be, and that'll take just a little while. Yeah. So the highest seed in each match gets the choice of whether they will play first or second, create the game in BGA, and if the wrong player is playing first, abandon and restart. So that's the way they're going to do it. So that's what Mike, what's Mike's last name again?
Dixon.
There we go. Mike Dixon, our good friend, our tournament organizer here at the Mind Sports Olympiad, and also a very big tournament organizer in the UK gaming scene as well. Mike Dixon will be certainly communicating with our top 7 finalists in our playoffs to communicate that. But it looks like the way that they're going to run it is they're going to pair off players, and then they're going to use the Board Game Arena function to set up a match between the 2 players. And if the wrong player is going first, so they'll decide beforehand, the higher seed player will go, I want to go first, or you can go first. If the wrong player is starting, they'll simply abandon that game and restart the match. So that'll make it slightly more difficult for us to watch, because we're going to need to liaise with Mike Dixon to get the links of each player as we head into these games.
I can do that. That's fine. I know.
Yeah, thank you, Steve.
No worries.
Ladies and gentlemen, Steve isn't just one of the most beautiful men you have ever seen in your life. He's also smart. Steve is in charge of all of our technical work here for today's stream, as well as for yesterday's stream for the King Domino. So if you're out there and you want to send Steve some admiring compliments, who doesn't love a compliment here and there? If you're feeling generous, please feel free to do so in our comment section below, either through Facebook, YouTube, Board Game Arena, or Twitch. Send emails about Steve's luscious hair, because really, the real winner here is us. We get to look at Steve Raine's hair as we consume some delicious gameplay.
Thanks for that, I suppose. Oh dear. Yeah, so I've got our links to all the players, so I can find out. Is there any particular player you fancy watching from our list? We can't watch Sport R because I believe they go straight into the knockout stages.
Yes, of course. Of these, I'm partial to watching our 2 Taiwanese friends. Or we could watch one of the only Brit competitors, Mr. Statmat, as we just saw.